All students are members and participants in the government of the student body, and as such are encouraged to take part in discussion of Senate bills and orders or issues affecting students. Please wait to be recognized by the chair and be courteous to others wishing to speak. Abbas. Alexander. Here. Baker.
Here.
Bauer. Benzoni. Here. Breitbart.
Here.
Birch. Here. Doherty.
Here.
Debates.
Here.
Pisak. Fitton. Foley. Here. Grenadorova. Here. Johnson. Here. Kaufman. Kensler.
Here.
Nee.
Here.
Lang. Here. Lund. Nygaard. Here. Sorry, I skipped Merle.
Here.
Osborne. Parkinson. Peterson.
Here.
Plantford.
Here.
Schulte.
Here.
Sharp. Here. Snell.
Present.
Sherhall.
Here.
Can you remind me to say your last name?
Yeah.
Triparty?
Yeah.
Triparty. Voss.
Here.
Walsh.
Present.
Williams. Here. Wolf.
Present.
Okay, I'll now, is there any objections to the minutes from the last 2 weeks? At this time, then I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the last 2 weeks. Second. All, UC has been called. Is there any objection to UC? Minutes are approved. Reports, Rules Committee. Speaker Williams.
Yeah, thanks. So rules met at 6 o'clock on the West Student Office space. Not a whole lot to report. Not a whole lot to report. We looked over some bills that are coming up that'll be first read today, and so we'll talk about those more when they're in the second read. Let's see. The ad hoc committee for the PR, UA, and election commission is still. We're going to get a form, and this will be up and running, I swear, by next Monday. And so if you are interested in that, please let me know after the meeting. Other than that, we have our election commission members. There are a few of them here today, so we'll have an election commission, which is exciting, unless you just wanted to kind of get voted on without any oversight, which you think you did. But yeah, so that's about it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, have a good meeting.
Are there any questions for Speaker Williams? Finance Committee, Vice Chair Fitton.
All right, Finance Committee met yesterday evening at 5 o'clock in the Control Center. You'll notice first and foremost in the Finance Director memo that there's a change of balances from previous weeks. I do want to emphasize that that number is unresolved at this time. As Finance Director, we received some contracts I had known about for a couple of weeks, but we weren't sure how that was worked out. We just have to work with campus or the county to see that that's equally distributed between events and capital projects. He also regrets that he wasn't able to be here. He noted that we do have special allocations hearings on Sunday the 13th. They will be in room 3534 of the Memorial Union. We'll start at 9 o'clock hearing from each of the groups and we'll do budget balancing following those hearings. A couple bills that we'll see tonight are replenishing some discretionary and funding the community Kayak Club, water ski club requests, and I believe that's all. For the first and third bills that I mentioned, there is the intent to waive second read, especially for the water ski club, who is leaving, or they are leaving for their national tournaments this week. With that, I will yield to any questions.
Public relations.
All right, good evening, everyone. PR met last night, 7 p.m. West Student Office Space, Normal area. First, we talked about the newsletter. That was sent out Sunday night. I didn't send it out to the listener, I forgot to. But it is on the website and it's on Facebook, so go ahead and check that out. If you have any feedback about that, please let me know, because we're going to try to make it better and better every month. And then if you do want to write an article for next month, so November, it'll go out like the first week of November, just let me know, so there should be roughly 2 spots open. Article length's 150 words, so not too long. Just let me know if you want to get involved in that, and then if you have any feedback for me about that also. We briefly talked about Be Your Government Day for the fall. We're still trying to figure out what we want to do for food and funding for that food, that sort of stuff. So we'll update you more on that as it comes near. Next we talked about having a Meet Your Senator Day. For those of you that are new, Meet Your Senator Day, excuse me, is when we sit outside the library at the Free Speech Zone, usually have a table, GSB board, hand out those types of things, and then we just interact with our constituents, get their opinion on stuff that's interesting to them, concerns they may have, that sort of thing. So look for that probably within the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We'll try to do it while it's still decent weather out, because we won't have very good turnout once winter rolls around. So be on the lookout for that. Lastly, we're going to be doing focus groups in the next 3 to 4 weeks. We're going to do one focus group for elections and one focus group for GSB in general. So what that means is we're going to select roughly 8 to 12 students here at Iowa State, and then invite them to take part in kind of a back and forth session, kind of gauging their opinion on the elections, whether they vote in the election, what motivates them to vote, those types of things. I won't bore you with more questions. And then another one will be just about GSB in general, so what do they care about, what opinions they have, where they want to pursue $3 to go, those types of things. So we're doing this to kind of get a better feel of what student population that doesn't participate in GSB, because we kind of have a general idea of the people that show up to meetings, have a general idea of what GSB is. We really don't have any idea about those people who don't even know what GSB stands for. So those are the people we're trying to reach out to so we can improve our election turnout. Probably can't go any down further next year, so it's only up after this. So hopefully they will use that for that, just to kind of get a better feel for what the at-large student population is thinking about GSB. And that was it. Any questions?
New State Affairs, Vice Chair Blanford.
All right, so UA met again last night, Tuesdays, 6:10. We had a lot of progress on our projects. The biggest thing to report would be, I'm going to yield to Senator Kirkall to explain how he's been working on that food situation.
Okay, so I got middle of last week, I had a bunch of engineering groups and other groups of campus contacted me within spent about 3 days. May have blew up like 15 emails in like 36 hours. So I was gearing up to start a petition within the student groups. And I ended up getting in touch with risk management to obtain references for what regulations they were citing. They got back to me and said they're very close to having an exemption worked out. So I'm hoping by the end of this week to have this all resolved. I'll put together a document detailing all that I know, as well as the new exemption, hopefully, that risk management has figured out. So I hope I have good news next week to report.
And the other projects we've been working on, Senator Breitbart getting a sidewalk near the bus stop at Maple Large. She's working on that. It's just working on the project until we get close to the end. And Senator Wolf and myself sent out a tower to the survey, a survey to the towers, and we're waiting for that deadline for the survey to be completed. And that's about it. Any questions?
Thank you. Vice Speaker Snow.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another fine night at GSB. Keep slipping my mind, so right off the bat, before I forget, hopefully all of you signed up for the volunteer/service project team. Last week, got an email from the listserv. I sent it out last night about after midnight. I couldn't get the dang thing to work, so it must have updated after midnight. And I hope all of you got that. If nobody, if you signed up last week and you didn't get an email from the listserv, let me know, and we'll make sure you're on the listserv. I screwed around with it for an hour, trying to get it to work until it finally did work, so maybe you got bumped off if you didn't get it, but let me know that. I will get in contact with FP&M and we will get going on Lake Laverne project. and you should hear about that within the next few days, hopefully. Other committees, let's see. I was headhunted to be on the Campbelltown Action Association, so I'm the newest member of the board of directors for Campbelltown. There's a lot of stuff going on there. I will be brief. The Kingland improvement is just the tip of the iceberg of a lot of the improvements that are going to go on. Come and Go is planning on buying T-Galaxy, turning T-Galaxy into the gas station, turning the current gas station into a restaurant. Let's see, I believe it's 3 other developers are planning on new construction, new development, and they'll be buying the Kingland project where it'll be first floor retail, and then anywhere from 4 to 7 floors above that of apartments. So I won't worry with all the details. There's still a lot of secrecy involved with that, as there usually is in negotiations of this type. So I don't have hardcore details, but expect it to happen. The main thing is that between now and the fall of 2015, Campbelltown will be a construction zone, and it will be a disaster. Expect 1-lane traffic on Lincoln Way, expect 1-lane traffic on Welch, expect maybe no traffic on Chamberlain, maybe 1-way traffic on Chamberlain, but after all of that's said and done, Campbelltown will literally be a brand new place. There's very little that's going to go untouched in the next couple of years. The only thing I'm not aware of any changes of is from Come and Go all the way to Copyworks. That block there will be untouched. Pretty much everything else is going to have something happen to it. They're looking at establishing a $50,000 facade grant program with the city of Ames. The Main Street has a similar association like the Campbelltown Action Association. They manage a $50,000 grant program for Main Street to keep Main Street looking all essentially the same with a certain architectural theme, landscape theme, etc. So when you go down to Main Street, it all kind of has a nice little flow to it. That's what they want to do with Campbelltown, particularly since it does not have the benefit of Main Street of being all the same, 100, 120-year-old buildings. Campbelltown is comprised of all sorts of different buildings and will remain that way indefinitely. So the facade grant program is especially interesting to them because they want to seek out facade treatments, landscape treatments, and so on and so forth to tie the whole block together. Any questions on that? I am more than happy to answer them for you. It was an hour-and-a-half meeting, so that was a 2-minute rundown. Next week I have athletics committee, so if anybody has anything they want to pass on to Jamie Pollard, whether it's a question, a statement, pat on the back, whatever, let me know. Next week I also have the, I don't know if it has an official name yet, but it's with the Iowa State Public Safety, the cops. They're having a new committee to investigate problems and solutions with the pedestrian / bicycle / skateboarder / whatever traffic on campus. So if anybody has any input on that, let me know so I can take that to the meeting. I feel like I need to write a vice speaker's email so I don't have to stand up here for 5 minutes and tell you about this. I can probably do that. But if anybody has anything like that, just let me know. If anybody has any questions, now or further hold peace. Okay, I'll probably have a lot more to say next week. Thank you.
Comments from the executive branch, President Hughes.
Thank you. Thanks. I emailed out earlier my comments, so I'll touch on the highlights and then answer some questions. First up, this past Sunday, 4 members of GSB met with 4 members from the Iowa State Daily. We talked about funding models moving forward, and our plans from here. We will be beginning talks about renegotiating the existing contract with them. The Daily is an integral part of our campus culture, and we want to make sure that they're able to be sustained. So those conversations will be happening within the near future. Also, something else you should be aware of, certainly, is that the Board of Regents are beginning to have what they call public hearings on each campus site prior to their scheduled meeting. So for this October meeting is on the 23rd and 24th. So on the 18th, which is the week before that, and the details are in the email, But from 12 to 1 p.m. in the Oak Room of the Memorial Union, there'll be a time set aside for any member of the public, especially students, to go in and share their thoughts about something that's region related. This month would be especially pertinent since they will be voting on fees proposals, tuition proposals at the meeting. So if you have feedback about tuition or fees that you'd like to personally deliver, your comments will be video recorded, and then that video will be viewed by each member of the board, so they won't be physically present. But that's a great way to share your opinions and know that they will actually be heard and considered by the people who have that decision-making power. So I encourage you to just swing by the Oak Room, and it won't take that long. If you get there early, if you sign up, there's a sign-in sheet. If you get there early, you can sign up first, and then it'll take a grand total of 5-10 minutes to get you in and out. So if you're free over that time, I encourage you to take advantage of that. We're also planning to begin a project here shortly that will allow for students to personally thank their state legislator in a handwritten note. This is an idea that has been shamelessly stolen from the University of Iowa student government, but in fairness, they also have stolen many of our ideas as well. So we're going to do it too because it's a good idea. So that's being headed up by our Director of ISU Ambassadors, and we anticipate getting that going soon. Let's see, what else is important to cover? Please read this. There's a lot of stuff in it, especially this week. I included a lot more updates from specific cabinet members, as I understand that's been a concern. So that's available for you to view. Also, on this Monday, I met with Dr. Hill. We discussed student organization food sales, which Senator Turhall is kind of working on. He let me know that the university is on our side. We both want to see the same outcome, and I don't want to say bad guy, but the antagonist in this story is the state regulator, or the regulator for the city of Ames, not necessarily at the state level. So the university is not the one who has been pushing these increased restrictions on food sales, which is good to know, and we anticipate something being solved soon. Senator Turhall kind of talked about that earlier as well. Also this Friday, Regent Walsh, she's the student member of the Board of Regents. She'll be on campus. She will be meeting with some students. Not student government types really. She just wants to meet with what she thought was normal students. I just have a conversation about, I'm student government too, so we're not normal, we can accept that. She wants to have a conversation with students just about campus culture, what's going on at Iowa State. She wants to get a better sense of what life is like for a student at Iowa State as she prepares some of her initiatives moving forward as a member of the board. She will be back in the spring for a larger, more public meeting when she has her ideas more fully developed. And I'll definitely keep you posted about that so you have the opportunity to attend and participate in those meetings. So that's everything that is really important. Like I said, read the rest of this and contact me if you have questions about that, but I will yield to questions at this point.
Senator Abbas?
May I direct my questions to the speaker?
Yes.
This is about your first point about meeting with David. And in it you talked about how you plan to move forward to discuss or renegotiate the existing contract. Is there a certain time that you plan, like let's say in the spring or in the coming months, or just any sort of timeline?
I'd like to, thanks for that, that's a good question. I neglected to mention that. I'd like to get those conversations going as soon as possible. We don't really know how much time they will take, and so the earlier that is settled, the better. As it would, anytime that, if that would happen at any course over this academic year, or really during this fiscal year, it would impact the money amounts that would take place for the following fiscal year. So there's really not a time crunch on it, which is nice. We do have until the end of June, but I would like to have it solved sooner rather than later, or at least start sooner rather than later so that we have as much time as we need.
All right, I yield. Thank you.
Senator Kensler?
May I address the President?
You may.
President Hughes, in regards to one of your bullet points, talking about the mission statement of GSB and asking for any thoughts on the topic, is the one that you're working on now, is that accessible on the website, or is that a different mission statement than what you guys are working on?
Can you clarify what you mean by working on?
It said, well, you're finalizing the new GSB mission statement. Is that the one that's on the GSB website?
No.
Okay, where can you find that new mission statement?
The text is not publicly available. If you contact me, I'd be happy to share it with you, what we're drafting currently.
So if we email you, you'll send it to us? Or, I guess my question is, how are we supposed to use thoughts if we don't know what it is?
What I meant by thoughts is I'd like to, if you have, in the development process, My plan with this is not to share a statement and then, you know, have it on the screen and then we amend a word. That's not really how you write a mission statement.
No.
I'd like to talk more broadly about what values are important to you as a GSP member. What values do you see as important to this organization? I can definitely share with any one of you with the draft that we currently have, and privately, because I'd like to keep, I don't want that to really influence the conversation at this point. That's coming soon though. But I'd like to talk about those values when we shape the draft, in the draft stage. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any further questions for President Hughes?
I'd like to also comment on, someone previously asked to include a city council update. This week, I contacted our city council liaison, and nothing that interesting to students happened at city council yesterday. So, no worries there. It was not very interesting, apparently.
Vice Speaker Scott?
Yeah, Major, quick question, Spencer. When and where was the video recording thing for the, did you say the Oak Room?
Oh, for the region's public hearing?
Yes.
That's Friday the 18th from noon to 1 in the Oak Room. Yeah, it'll be first come, first serve for who can speak. There's will be a sign-up sheet, so you don't need to pre-register, you just need to show up.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Are there any further questions for the President?
Thank you.
We don't have a program or group of the week this week, so we'll move directly into open forum, which is the time for open discussion for issues relevant to students. But at this time, I'd like to invite Rochelle to take the podium to talk about sustainability. Rochelle is with Mary Rankin. She'll introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Rochelle Rowe, and I am the Iowa State Live Green Campus or Sustainability Initiatives intern. My title just changed, so forgive me for not remembering right away. And I'm here today to talk to you, a huge group of student leaders, about a first ever Green Your Student Organization event. So what is this event? The Green Your Student Organization workshop will talk to green organizations about how they can be more effective, and it will also talk to any student organization about how they can be more green. A lot of students came to me last year when I was the campus and community engagement intern, asking me how they can make their group more sustainable. And we had a lot of trouble with the green organizations being able to grow on campus. So I decided that this workshop would be a perfect opportunity to really support these green student organizations, as well as give any other student leader the opportunity to learn about how to make their organization more green. We'll be offering a lot of options how they can be more sustainable in their events and the running of their general meetings. So it's a pretty exciting event. It's the first event ever we've had like this, and we've actually gotten some interest from other schools who want to replicate this workshop. So I encourage all of you to come. It is next Tuesday, October 15th, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. in the Pioneer Room of the Memorial Union. We'll be having free snacks as well, so I encourage all of you to come. If anyone has any questions, you can feel free to ask me.
Senator Finn, do you have a question? Senator Plainberg, do you have a question? Vice Speaker Snow.
May I address the speaker?
You may.
Yeah, I got an email from Mary Rankin recently that said that we have received a gold rating as far as credit. Would you like to tell us about that?
So STARS is a program that rates our university on how sustainable we are. It's through ASHE, which is the grand poobah, I guess, of college sustainability. And a gold rating is the highest rating that a college can attain, demonstrating sustainability. We had 2 interns working on this for several years now, and it's taken over a year to get all of the data together and collected. So it's really, really exciting, and it's a huge accomplishment that we were able to get that rating.
Great, thank you. That's all I have. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Senator Schulte.
May I just speak?
You may.
So I'm just kind of curious, so how's it working as far as who's invited to this? Can anyone show up, or is it just leaders of student organization?
Anyone is really welcome to show up. We're encouraging people who might be interested in taking a leadership position in the future, as well as anyone who really wants to learn more about how sustainability works on campus on a student organization level. We really are encouraging student leaders, though, to attend because they're the ones who are currently making their events sustainable, or they're the ones who will come up with the questions on how they can be, how their group can be sustained, as well as be sustainable. So we are focusing on student leaders, but we're encouraging anyone who has any interest to come.
Are there any other questions for Rochelle? Thank you so much for coming and telling us about the event.
Yes, and if anyone wants more information, you can feel free to contact me. My email address is rtrwe@iastate.edu, or you can check out the Green Umbrella's Facebook page. There's an event on that page, or the Live Green website. The main slider, the main image on the website will direct you to information about the event as well. Thank you.
Still an open forum, Senator Fitton.
At this time, I'm going to ask you to add the number 2013-2-037F, Replenishing the Senate Discretionary or Senate order that's approved for students.
Is there any objection? That will be added to the agenda. Q037F.
And then also at this time, we can ask unanimously to add 2013-2-042F, sending Water Ski Club to nationals before the previous
Second.
Is there any objection? That will be added to the agenda.
And then just two quick things I wanted to note to Senate. I mentioned a couple weeks ago how I would like to see Senate take a more active role in setting priorities for finance committee and what we want to do. And so I plan to have that bill up in 2 weeks from today. I'd still appreciate comments from everyone and helping develop that with our board priorities. And then lastly, you'll see a resolution for the community rental housing issue for next week.
Senator Feinberg.
All right, so going here, I have a fake resolution thanking our former Senate clerk for all of his time here. Zach Pendrive, as you may know, isn't here anymore. And instead of getting him like a card, we thought since he loved GSB so much, maybe he would appreciate a resolution thanking him that we could all sign. And so I'm just going to pass this around the table, and if you could all sign it as if you were the author of the resolution. Would you like me to read that as well, or would you like to read it?
I think people can read it.
All right. So I'll just start passing that around.
Election Commissioner Gunther.
All right. Who was talking about so hey everyone. So we have two election-related stuff up tonight. First read of Chapter 12 bylaw changes and seating of the Election Commission's new members. So I won't talk about that right now. What I do want to talk about is so far I've received only one information. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So we'll be going through the rest of the election code and the election bylaws. So far, only President Hughes has given me any type of suggestions. So before we get into actually changing it and discussing the changes, really appreciate if all Senate could look over Chapter 12 and 13 and the election code for any suggestions before we get onto it. I would hate for anyone to mumble along when we're voting on it that they didn't have a chance to have their opinion heard by the Election Commission. So I really appreciate in the next couple of weeks you guys look through that. Next week, I said this last week, but I promise this time that this weekend I'll get around to finalizing the timeline and apportionment. So I will hopefully have that up for bills for first or second or however it works for next week. Anyone have any questions?
Senator Bauer.
May I address the commissioner?
You may.
When and where are your election commission meetings?
The election commission meetings are upstairs. Actually, no. They're actually on this level, 2210, Mondays at 7.
Are there any other questions for Election Commissioner Gunther? Thank you.
Sarah, if I'm going to accept the question.
Yes.
I noticed that the order in which you wanted them, the water ski club, I'm assuming that's coming from discretionary, and why did you have discretionary? Discretionary is going to run out of money. Why would you not place this on replenishing discretionary before that?
I wanted to give deference to the group first and foremost, and then second of all, we can run a negative in the accounts that Dan can decide when he's going to do the paperwork on those. So just because we ask money for the other, doesn't mean that we didn't be eligible.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you screwed up. Thank you.
Speaker Williams.
I just wanted to mention really fast the Campus Not Safety Walk went really well. We had a pretty good turnout of students as well as a few community members. And something that got brought up, last year in our GSB joint city council meeting, and that got brought up to me this year again, was the lighting over on Mortensen, which is south of campus over here. And as we talked about last year with city council, we asked why the lighting was so bad. And they said that some of those roads, actually the university owns part of those. And so from my knowledge, unless anybody here knows differently, I don't know if we ever checked in on that. So I figure I might as well go and check in on that now, especially after the safety walk. And then hopefully we'll have our city council meeting soon. We're still trying to find a date. So I just wanted to update you guys on that. And if you'd like to help me out with writing a bill or a resolution or talking with the certain people that I have to talk to get some of these roads lit up, please let me know. Senator Walsh.
At this time, I'd ask unanimous consent of the Senate to add Senate Bill 2013-2- I actually don't have it on that. Putting it on there right now. Funding Canoe and Kayak Club.
Yeah, everything.
The group is present.
Where did you go?
Below water ski.
Below the water ski club.
That's 038.
Are there any objections or are there any objections? Okay. Anything else for open forum? I will just ask that the Senate please speak up tonight during the meeting. As a reminder, please limit your side conversations when we're discussing bills so that we can all hear up here and so that our minutes can be easily captured. It would be much appreciated. Okay. With that, we'll move to special orders. Senate Bill 2013-2-046-SC, seating election commission members.
Hey everyone, so right now I'd like to invite Jalen Blankenship. Come on up.
Election commission got there first. Senator needs to.
What? Who?
First, the senator.
Oh, all right. Well, she can still come up. Thank you.
Title, city members of the election commission, whereas there are currently one voting member vacancy on the election commission of the government student body, 6 non-voting member vacancies, and whereas the election commissioner out there has not made a quorum individuals to fill these positions, and whereas appointment to the election commission requires Senate confirmation, be it therefore ordered that James wants to be confirmed as a voting member of the election commission of the government student body, and be it further ordered that Galen Blankenship, James Brady, Robert Stoka, Alex Harrison, Sam Wazen, and Jeff D. Rocher be confirmed as voting members of the election commission of the government student body, and further order that the above individuals immediately assume all rights and responsibilities of the position as is in the government law. I'd like to apologize to the candidates for butchering their names. With that, turn it over to the election commission.
Okay, first off, I'd like to thank Senator Kensler. He did a great job of pronouncing the last names for the most part. Unfortunately, many of the new election commission members are not able to attend Wednesday's night's meetings. 2 of them have labs, 1 has class. Former Senator Swanson is busy running Cal's Week this week. And then one of the members is on the athletic team, so he has practice and is retired. So we have, I can speak on all their behalf. I went through their applications and talked to a majority of them. I think only one of them I didn't get to talk to before tonight's meeting. And then we have Jalen here today to talk on our behalf. So I will let her speak on why she wants to be on the election commission, and then I'll
my name is Jalen Blankenship. I'm a freshman here at Open Option. I've decided to apply for this position because I've had many leadership opportunities in high school, and I think I have succeeded at them very well, and I decided that this would be a good option for me to find another role that I can succeed at and help out the student body. Are there any questions?
Senator Clinton?
May I address a question to the commission?
You may.
Commissioner Gunther, could you kind of explain, I know you said you reviewed their application, but can you kind of talk about the application process a little more?
All right, so the application process opened up around August. I put the 2013 application up and sent it to Senator Powell to put on Facebook and the website. I didn't have a lot of success with any people applying until after President Hughes and the cabinet sent out a mass email. That's when we got a lot of a lot of candidates right at the last minute. We got 3 on the deadline. So it was kind of a fairly quick process. We were already a bit running behind on the timeline that I had set up for meeting different benchmarks for the election process. So last year, since we had no one on the election commission, it allowed us a little leeway to have an interview process. Since I wanted to get going, I did not have an interview process this time. The 5 current members of the election commission met with me in a closed session to discuss the applications that we had, and then I went over them on the weekend and then sent an email out to President Hughes on why I selected these 7 people. So that's kind of the process, how it is. Did that answer your question?
It did, thank you.
Senator Bauer?
May I address the election commissioner?
You may.
Election Commissioner Gunther, what will be the number of voting and non-voting members if this bill goes through that?
As this bill would be written tonight, we will have 6 voting and 6 non-voting members. It is my intention, if you looked at the bylaw bill that I have at the end of the meeting, to make all 12 voting members though, so that is my intent and plan.
Thank you.
Senator Fitton?
Question.
Question has been called and seconded. UC unanimous consent has also been called. Is there any objection to UC? Seeing none, this passes. We're now moving into general orders. Senate Bill 2013-2-039F, funding triathlon club bikes.
All right, funding triathlon club bikes. We tabled this, or we divided and tabled this 2 weeks ago. This is the second part of that story, where we are contemplating funding the bikes. So, anybody wants to read that?
May I address Senator Fitton, or if he would yield to a question? Thank you. I assume that we haven't reclaimed funds yet, is that correct?
Not entirely.
Okay, so
We have a balance that we're currently working with to determine.
Okay.
But for the most part, we think we have it.
all right, thank you.
Senator Gordon?
May I address the group?
You may.
Hey, group. A couple questions. A couple weeks ago, you came to us, and we were really excited that you guys went out and found your a discount from Bike Road on the bikes. I believe it was 20%. I was wondering if you guys, if that discount is still in effect, or if that is expired since 2 weeks ago.
We went and talked with Steve, the owner of Bike World. He said that Bike World was willing to be flexible with us, so we can do the order anytime before the end of the year.
Okay. Fantastic. Also, did you ever get any numbers on how many group members are actively participating in the group so far?
Active participation, we're still gathering that, but we had a general meeting last week, and I sent around a poll for who uses our club bikes. Currently, we have 11, just as a reminder, and we had 18 people sign up saying that they don't have their own bike and plan on using our club bikes throughout the year. So that's kind of where we stand right now, and that was just people at the meeting. That doesn't include people who weren't able to attend.
Senator Turtle? You may.
Hi guys, good to see you again. Just follow up from 2 weeks ago. Have you had any problems during practices about not being enough bikes or for the group members to practice with?
We haven't yet. Monday we had one bike left over in the locker, one club bike that was not used. So we're still all right, but I'm worried for especially races coming up once we have like a lot of people going if we don't have bikes. And again, once people start coming to more practices, like people are on and off with their schedules. I'm sure you guys know what that's like being busy. But again, there is definitely the need for it. And if we have to go to a race and we bring 18 people who don't, 18 people who are trying to use 11 bikes, that'd be a bad situation for us again.
Okay, I guess just to speak on the bill as a whole, I know I made a lot of points 2 weeks ago, so I'd like to bring some of those again, as well as some new ones. So I just don't see the need for this group to have these bikes. They've had enough bikes for now. As we all know, as the special goes on, membership has to drop off, so fortunate it is. And if they haven't demonstrated the need yet, I have trouble seeing the moving forward with needing the bikes. I feel like this would be funding something that's unnecessary. I'm trained to be an engineer. I see a problem, and I'm trained to solve it. I'm having trouble seeing a problem here, and I'm uneasy trying to throw a solution to something that's not a problem. I don't see the logic in funding these bikes. So I would encourage a no vote on this.
Senator Kinsley? You may.
You mentioned that one of the things that you would like to avoid is to, you don't want to show up to a competition and have a shortage of bikes. And that's completely understandable. But my question is, do you normally take more group members than the bikes you have guaranteed already? Like people just show up to these competitions, or do you just
No. We use the university vehicles and travel to most of our races, so it'd be telling people that they can't go to a race unless they can find a bike on their own.
Now, is there a, like for these races, I don't know exactly how they work, but is there a minimum amount of participants you need in order to enter the competition?
There is not.
Okay.
It's just scoring based, so the more members you have, the more points you can score.
Okay. With that being said, I absolutely echo Senator Carell's comments. There are groups out there currently who may not be able to afford the bikes that they need in order to compete. And this makes me giving, in my opinion, extra capital items to a group that seems to be established already, although they would like to expand, and that's completely understandable. But at this time, I just don't think it's in our interest to do that.
Senator Fitton?
Manager Stewart. Thanks for coming in tonight. I just had a quick question. You guys went through sports club council allocations last semester, correct?
Correct.
And then you go through a process to determine how many members you're going to have go to each race, correct? All right, can you speak a little bit about that process? And then my follow-up to that would be how would you compensate for more people coming than you did in the allocations process last time?
As far as that's concerned, we estimate numbers of people based on the previous year attending races. And then, so we budget for that. If we need to, or if there's more people that end up wanting to go on the trip, we might have to like include a small fee of like $20 or something to help split the difference on that. Is that, I'm forgetting the other part of your question.
I guess my question just is, if you projected for that many people, how do you make up for the more people that you're wanting to take to these different competitions?
We just have people, they pay some extra to go on the trips, but they're fine. It's generally how it works.
And then permission to read from bylaws. 11.7.2.1, this is talking about capital projects account. Quote, funds in this account shall provide a means to allocate funds for capital expenditures that have a useful life expectancy of greater than 3 years in the capacity of benefiting all students and/or student organizations in accordance with the priorities and criteria. I yield.
Vice Speaker Snow. Senator Dorgan.
Hello again, group. May I address the group?
You may.
Group, the bikes that you have now, because I can't remember quite how you explained it last time. The bikes you have now, about how long have you had them, and how long do you expect the bikes you have now to last?
I think we've had ones we've had for 5 years now.
We have to fund each year to help maintain them. They still work just fine. We have an equipment manager who makes sure that all of our equipment is working properly. We can easily get 5 more years out of what we do have. And we take good care of our equipment because we know it's expensive equipment and we want to be able to continue using it for as long as possible.
And as with this year, your membership, I know you said it has increased more than previous years. Do you expect that to keep growing next year or the year after that? Do you plan on that to continue growing exponentially? Yes, you could say.
I would say yes. Just a lot of our new recruits is just from word of mouth. People like having a friend who runs and trying to get them to come to a few practices. They start liking it, and that's how I know a lot of our new members have heard about our club, and that's how we try to get our name out there more. Is just word of mouth, and the more members we have, the more people we're telling, the more we're promoting our own club. So that's what we like.
Thank you very much.
Senator Abbas.
May I speak? May I question? May I address the speakers?
Yes.
All right, I just have one quick question. The competitions you guys go to, on average, the participating teams, how many competitors do they bring? How many people does each team on average bring? Or each successful team?
We typically bring more people from our club than other schools in our conference.
So we should usually have more members than others?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I yield, thank you.
Vice Speaker Snow.
Thank you. Will President yield to a finance question?
I will.
Rather than read it myself, can you tell us what the working balance of capital projects is? Okay, so to answer for Senator Fitton, our capital projects account working balance is $172,883.25. They're asking us for a little more than I'll yield to Senator Fitton if you need to. So that's obviously a key piece of information because that's what held us up a couple weeks ago when we only had $4,000 in there. Regarding Senator Turhall's comment about not needing the bikes yet, I guess I would reply to that to reiterate what the group itself said. They don't need them right now because they don't have a race right now. Practices, obviously, people will come and go. I've been involved in clubs. Not everybody always attends, weekly for various different things. And I expect that's probably the case. Group, does that help?
Yes.
That's the case, yes.
Wait,
Go ahead.
we also have Saturday practices, so I mean more people are going to show up to those because they're more available on Saturdays.
So you're right at capacity, and you have one spare bike right now. That, you're right at capacity at the moment. Until our funding rules change, and I'm all for changing our funding rules, hopefully you all know, but until they change, the old rules are still the rules, and this kind of thing is what we do. Funding these bicycles, these capital projects, this is precisely what our job is until we decide that rule changes. So let's not let our previous consternation regarding the low account balances scare us into not voting for this bill tonight. If this was last year or 2 years ago, we wouldn't probably be having this argument. So I don't understand why we're having it now. Actually, historically, $172,000 is a lot, more than last year. So just want to put that out there. Thank you.
One want to make two key points real quick. The first is to Senator Snow's question about balance. As everyone knows, we did have a transfer from the investment account earlier this year that amounted to $102,000. My question to Senator Snow would be, what, if you lose a question, I will sure. If you ever run into a crisis like this again and we don't put back into that investment account, what do you think the solution to that would be concerning capital projects?
Are you proposing to move $102,000 from there?
I was asking a question. It's germane to that account.
It is germane to that account. Entertaining your idea of eliminating $102,000 from that account still leaves us with $7 million. Does that answer your question?
So that helps me make part of my point is that we made a commitment when we passed the transfer from the investment account to put so much back in. And I think it would be incumbent upon us to make the appropriate transfer back into the investment account simply because we don't know what we're going to run into. First of all, during the regular allocation process, come the spring, anyone who was around last spring did know we were going to have $1 million deficit going into budget balancing. But second of all, that it's not, resolved completely yet because there's paperwork that we have to do to make sure that the money is evened out between capital projects and the events account. Because as we know, if you read the bylaws, half of all reclaimed funds have to go to the events account up to $50,000. So that amount is in no way resolved at its current balance. The second point is, Sports Club Council, let's talk about Senator Kinsler here, goes through a very stringent process during the spring when we do our regular allocation process. And if the group will yield to a question, would you say it's pretty accurate that Sports Club Council gives you about no more than a third of all your operating expenses, at the very most?
They give us less than 20%.
Okay. And that's pretty typical for every sports club that goes through the allocation process with SEC. My fear is that if we have clubs that know we have so much money aside, and that they can come to Senate, we're going to be sympathetic to what we perceive as what we grow. We're not going to worry about that in the spring. We're going to have a floodgate sports clubs come every fall, and the equipment they didn't get because sports club is very stringent in that process, which has been something before, and then they can get it. So that's my second thing. So that being said, I do want to just reiterate the point I made with the bylaws concerning capital project accounts. And just consider this when you're voting. Does this have an impact for all students or student organizations who are at the same university, which is the full intent of the capital projects account and expenditures from that account? If you can faithfully answer that question, that this is going to positively reinforce the student experience of the most students possible with that amount of money for capital projects, then I encourage you to vote for that. With that being said,
Senator Brightman.
Yeah, I wanted to hit on Senator Terrell's point about how okay, well, I was going to say that although they say that they were one bike short this past time, I don't think that this growth is artificial. You guys have to keep in consideration that they raised several $1,000s on one of their programs already, and you can't just have 3 or 4 people attending a program like that, to raise several $1,000s. That means they're affecting a large portion of the students and the community. So I mean, I think $2,000 to a group that definitely has an effect on the community as it's shown is well worth the cost.
Senator Voss.
I wasn't making a comment, but with all the conversation, I might as well say something. I'll be short. First thing that I kind of heard is when we rolled up the screen here on the capital projects and then the big number of $170,000 came up, I heard a bunch of ooh, ah, kind of. I don't necessarily think that because we have a lot of money means that we have to spend it frivolously. If I may kind of quote George Bush, I don't know about preemptive spending here. The group hasn't really shown a dire need. I think it's something to keep in mind. Like Senator Fitton had mentioned, there will be some large amounts of money coming out of this account back into the investment account. And that'll leave open the question of, well, what kind of money will we have later? Even if it is 70,000, there might be a very big project coming up. I know we spent, I can't remember how much, but the internet was 25,000. The internet site was $25,000. I mean, a lot of equal bucks there. So with that, I will yield. I don't want to sway your mind, but just keep that in the balance.
Senator Kensler.
Move down.
Senator Meade.
May I direct a question to you?
You may.
So how many, your trip registrations here, how many student members do you have currently that own their own bikes and bring their own bikes for, use their own bikes for competitions?
Probably 20, 25.
Okay, and how many bikes do you currently have on Lake GSB?
We have 11 bikes.
Okay, so that's total 36 bikes roughly?
Yes. I don't know the exact number on that.
Okay, because I'm just trying to gauge your need here for what you requested competitive trip-wise. And for most of the competitive trip registrations that you request, I'm seeing for the Wisconsin, 8 registrations, so that'd be 8 people attending the event. For another one, there's 18, so 18 people attending the event, 10 people attending the event. Most of these events are smaller than 20 people, so you already have your needs met, correct, for most of your events?
Well, those 20 to 25 are like members who have their own bike. We take new members who don't have any equipment, and that's what this equipment is used for, is for those new members. And when we take new members, they use our equipment that we have.
Okay. Last year at Nationals, we took 23 people on that trip. That's always our biggest trip of the year. Over the summer, I mean, people are going on internships. That's why the numbers are down. I believe we took 16 or 17 on our most recent race that we had right at the beginning of the school year before new members had actually joined the club and started racing with us. So the main reason for the low numbers is all of our races are over the summer where people are not around to race. And not everybody goes to every race as well. Because, again, the trip costs money for people as well, like not being able to work their jobs, and there's other costs with that.
Okay, but so how many races would you say that you've had where you didn't have enough members bringing their own bikes and you ran their own bikes?
We haven't had that happen yet.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Speaker Snow. Senator Bauer.
To address a couple comments that have been made, Senator Fitton said that if we fund this group, that we could possibly have every sports club group coming to us for funding. I don't really take that as a valid argument. Of course, groups are going to come to us asking for funding. That's kind of what we do. That's why we collect student fees. We're here to have a positive impact on student experience. So to do that, we do have to fund groups every now and then, so that way we're not just hoarding all this money up. Secondly, to address Senator Boss's comments about us, we should be spending frivolously on groups. I don't think that there's going to be an event coming up that's going to cost us over $100,000. So I think we do need to spend these funds on groups that we feel merit our money. But I just feel this group went through the process, and I do think it's a good use of student fee money. Even though they don't currently need have a need for the bikes in the past. I mean, obviously they said their attendance is growing, they'll have more people going to competitions. So I do feel like this is a good use of student fee money. Obviously, we have the money to fund this group and have a positive impact on the student experience. So I am in full support of this bill.
As information to the Senate, you've used half of the time on this bill. Senator Johnson.
May I ask a question to Senator Fitton? When you spoke about the group, I was just wondering how much is currently in the investment account?
Zero.
Oh, well, that's interesting. But then regardless, I just wanted to address Senator Fitton's point about jumping the bylaws, which I think, as much as I respect your position on the bill, it's a pretty basic, logical fallacy, and that it doesn't really make sense. The bylaw reads that it has the capacity of benefiting all students. This has the capacity of benefiting all students. Obviously, it's not going to be directly benefiting every student. We don't all 33,241 of us do triathlons regularly. but there's nothing stopping anyone from joining their organization, which pretty much fits the definition of the capacity of benefiting all students, sort of those with, physical disabilities or whatever, obviously. But, so I think this fits perfectly well within the bylaw you cited. I'm not really sure what your point was with citing this. But then also, I don't think that the fact that they haven't already been needing them a while ago is a valid reason not to give them the funding now. I think it shows responsibility on their part to come to us with their requests as they become necessary, and to be looking ahead. I think it would be a lot more irresponsible if they come to us in 6 months from now, oh, we haven't been able to do what we were hoping to do this whole year because we just couldn't get around to coming to you. So it seems like this group has done everything right. We clearly have the money in the account to give quite a bit back to the investment account, and still plenty left for projects precisely like this, which do have the capacity of benefiting all students.
Senator Birch. My comments kind of echo Senator Johnson's in that I keep hearing people saying that this isn't going to impact enough students. But we all have access to these bikes. Yes, the Triathlon Club is here, and yes, they will be bikes that will be good for competition in those, but that doesn't mean that other people can't use them. I've looked into doing a triathlon. It is expensive. And if there's ever a time that any student has the slightest inkling of doing a triathlon, it'd be probably in their best interest to do it here because they wouldn't have as much of an investment that they would have to take on later in life. So I think that's something that keeps getting overshadowed a little bit. And I just wanted to make people aware that these bikes can be used for other people. So with that,
Senator Lloyd.
it is great.
I made a note last meeting, you guys were here, you fundraised over $9,000. Is that correct? Why, or how much are you willing to put towards the bikes?
You're asking how much of that would be willing to put towards them?
Yeah.
That's money that we have budgeted for getting our club to nationals, where we take 20 plus members of our club. Ideally, we're hoping to get closer to 30 this year with all of our new members, to Tempe, Arizona, to race in a collegiate national race against 100 plus other collegiate clubs. So I mean, that's a big price burden on our club, where each race registration is close to $100 per person.
So it's
So
open
we put it towards our race registration and trips.
Senator Merle.
Okay. I know there's still a few placards up. I'm not really going to add anything because I think most opinions have already been said. I could be wrong. But I am going to call the question.
Object. Object.
All right.
Do you withdraw your question? Senator Kinsler.
All right, so obviously this bill is not really being argued based off the club or the club's efforts. I think that's been well established and that they've done a good job. They've gone out, they've done everything that they needed to do. The argument that is to be had is whether or not GSB should be funding things that are not absolutely necessary at this time. Just because we have funds and just because the funding rules are the same that they were last year doesn't mean that we should fund in the same manner in which we funded last year. Last year, we funded capital items just because we had money, and the same arguments were made that if we have money, it's not our money, it's the students' money, we should be giving it back. Well, that kind of thinking got us in the exact position that we had a $500,000 deficit when it came to allocation time. And we had a very difficult time deciding between the survival of clubs, because when certain organizations came in here and said, if we don't get any more money, our club will not survive. We cannot operate with the money that you're willing to give us. And we had to look at them and say, hey, we have no more money to give. We have no money in the accounts. The investment account was drained so that we do have money in the capital projects. And like Senator Finn said, if we continue down the exact same line of thinking that I hear a lot of people saying in this room tonight, then we're going to be in the exact same situation in April, and we're going to have no more investment account to drain. I mean, yes, we have money. Yes, it's an insignificant amount, it's $2,200, but is it necessary? And from what I've heard so far, the answer to that is no. I yield.
Vice Speaker Snow.
Thank you. With respect to what Senator Kenseth has said regarding our financial troubles recently, I'd just like to point out that our financial troubles aren't caused by overspending. They were caused by the fact that we started out with bad numbers, which came from 2 fiscal years ago from another finance director who most of us don't even know. So I really reject that argument. We weren't irresponsible. Other people were irresponsible, and we had to pay the price for that. When it comes to SEC, Senator Fitton said that organizations can go to SEC, get their money, then come here. It's always been that way. I don't understand the logic of that argument because that has always been the case. And as Senator Bauer said, they've always done that. Organizations have always gone to SEC, gotten what they can, and then they come here. Because they pay student fees. They have a right to come here and ask for that money. So they do. And here they are. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And I don't understand why there's so much consternation on this. Mr. Voss's comment about frivolous spending, if this is within our guidelines and our rules to spend, I do not understand how that is defined as frivolous. We have bought bikes before. We have bought all sorts of things before. Nobody defined that as frivolous spending. So to call it frivolous spending to purchase 4 bicycles is just rhetoric. It's a negative kind of rhetoric. And I urge you not to be influenced by that. Now, they're using the $9,000 that they raised, as Ms. Lang brought up, for nationals. We fund organizations to go to national competitions. We're going to have another group here to do that very thing later on. So they're using $9,000 to fund themselves to go to nationals, and they're asking us for $2,000, a much smaller part, for 4 bicycles. They can either ask us for the bicycles or they can ask us for the money to go to nationals. So, you know, what are we going to penalize them for spending their $9,000 to send themselves to nationals? They're doing what they're supposed to do, and I understand Senator Kenseth has a problem with the argument of saying that they've gone through the process, but they have gone through the process. This is a factually accurate statement. This is their student fee money. They are asking us for it. They are allowed to ask us for it. We are allowed to give them this money. It is our role, our job, our duty to do, because that's what GSB has done for so many years. I know we can change that. I know we intend to change how we spend money. But until we actually make those changes, until the Finance Committee delivers us a bill that we can argue about and say, this is how we're going to spend, and all of us can vote and say, yes, this is how we want to spend that money, then damn it, this is what we're supposed to do right here, right now, tonight. It upsets me that we waste this time. We had $4,000 in capital projects last week, and the week before that, the week before that, the week before that. We keep getting sent capital projects now, bills, and we get in this argument. Oh, we've got $4,000. Oh my God, we've got $4,000. Let's argue, fight. Stop sending us these bills if we don't have money. I mentioned this last week, and here we are again. We have a finance committee that's telling us they want to take $102,000 out of capital projects. That's fine. We did agree to do that. Why don't I have a bill here to do that? Why don't I have a bill right now to move $102,000 out of that account and then debate whether or not we should spend out of $70,000? I'm tired of this kind of crap. We are fighting over stuff because we haven't completed other business. We need to get our stuff together, and that's why I need the finance committee. Mr. Fitton, I will yield to you to say something. Please say something.
With all due respect, I'm humored by the indignation because, correct me if I'm wrong, there were about 10 of us here last spring that spent 16 hours in this room balancing a $500,000 budget. I didn't see you here. I saw Senator Bauer here. I saw 2 or 3 other senators that had to look groups in the eye and say, you can't survive because we don't have money.
Jermaine, they weren't here last year.
I have a question.
Say.
Okay. Is there, we're going to go. bikes, and abstain means you have applied for some sort or choosing not to vote directly on this bill. Abbas.
Yes.
Alexander. No. Baker.
Yes.
Bauer. Benzoni. Breitbart.
Yes.
Birch. Yes. Doherty.
Yes.
Debates.
Yes.
Fitton.
No.
Foley. Yes. Grenadier-Roba. Nope. Johnson. Yes. Kaufman.
No.
Hensler.
No.
Nee.
No.
Lang.
No.
Murrow.
No.
Nygaard. Yes. Osborne.
No.
Parkinson.
Yes.
Peterson.
No.
Plantenberg.
Yes.
Schulte.
No.
Sharp.
No.
Snell.
Yes.
Turhall.
No.
Triparthi.
No.
Voss.
No.
Walsh.
Pass.
Ward. Oh, sorry. Williams.
No.
Wolf.
Abstain.
Bauer.
Yes.
Benzoni.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Did I miss anyone? I'm going to take a minute to make sure I count these here and tally them, but I just want to double check. Order, please. By a vote of 15 to 16 to 1, this fails. Senate Bill 2013-2-014F, eliminating daily ads from PNC.
Title eliminating data ads from PNC. At this time, I'll ask the representative from the data to take the stand. What do you? So yeah. So this bill has been brought up. It's been on the agenda now unofficially for 6 weeks. It was read first read 6 weeks ago. We've had discussions with the Daily in regards to this. At this time, I'm just going to turn it over to the representative from the Daily to kind of discuss his view on this bill and what he thinks of it.
Sure. Well, good evening. Thanks a lot for tabling this last week and for a few good questions. I wanted to start by answering, I think it was Mr. Bowers. You asked how many student organizations currently advertise with the Daily, and last year it was 27. And so we took last week to discuss the bill and talked about it, thought about it, and we thought it was really reasonable. You know, if the money's not being used, it's kind of, you know, as a student, it's a bummer to have all this money just sitting there and it's not allocated for newsletter.
I don't know if the microphone's on.
Okay.
But just if you could speak louder,
Sure.
that way our clerk can hear clearly.
Sure.
As loud as you can. We promise we won't think you're yelling.
All right, so as a student, definitely it's reasonable. 20 grand to just be sitting in an account that's not used, kind of a bummer. But also as an I would say daily board member, you know, it's kind of a bummer to lose this opportunity to have students have easy access to money to spend with us. So from that standpoint, I'd love to just offer that perhaps a reduction down to maybe $2,000 from 20. You know, we'd be willing to put in an advertisement in the newspaper informing students that there is money that's available for them for free. Not an article, but like an actual advertisement like there are in classifieds. It sounds like you guys have already thought through, and I hope it's going to be an easy vote for you tonight. But I want to put that out there anyways. And just going forward for funding student organizations to advertise with the Daily, we've got a really great system with the University Relations Department, and it's really smooth. No money goes to pizza parties, and it all goes to advertising. So if you're interested in that in the future, definitely let us know, and we can set that up. And any of you are more than welcome to visit a finance committee meeting. I'm on the publication board and I chair the finance committee. So if you're interested in the Daily and want to learn more about it, particularly with the other discussions coming up about funding the Daily, you're more than welcome to join us for a meeting. So I would love to yield to any questions.
Senator Bauer.
Mayor, Speaker.
You may.
Thank you for all the work you're doing with us on this. I really appreciate it. Just one question. For the 27 groups, are those groups that, I probably don't even know this, but are those groups that receive daily ads from GSB, or are those the combined groups of groups that receive ads from GSB and then groups that purchase them on their own?
I think it's combined.
Okay.
I'm not sure right now.
Okay.
I will do my best to look that up for you.
All right, that's a lot.
Senator Kentler.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo kind of what Senator Bauer said, that the Daily's been more than willing to work with us on this issue, and I appreciate that. And just to speak a little bit about, in case anybody has reservations on, are we taking this away from the Daily? It's not we're taking it and saying we're not going to fund Daily anymore. It's just saying we're moving into a non-criteria expense. So if a group does come in, they can still, and anybody on finance can correct me if I have this misinterpreted, but we just consider them on a case-by-case basis. So it's not that we're completely cutting off Daily ads from funding. It's just that we're looking into possibly opening up the options for different types of funding. And with that, I'll leave.
Senator Fitton.
First of all, I wanted to thank you again for coming tonight, Josh. Our conversations have been more than reasonable, and really appreciate the effort that you've been putting into this. The one comment I do have, and unfortunately, you have to wait for Speaker Williams to get stuff in the room. There is actually a finance committee amendment, there she comes, on this bill that I guess we didn't attach last week because we tabled it. So I'll wait for Speaker Williams. Do you know if you have the finance committee amendment to this bill? Anyway, the amendment, when it is considered, it's just having this, policy take effect after special allocations. So it's making sure all groups that are seeking funds for FY14, which we're currently in, still get the funds that were, I guess, entitled to them at the beginning of the funding cycle.
Are there any?
Yeah, I just like to add in there that I don't see this as taking money away from Iowa State Daily or taking money away from the competing groups. It's more so leaving that money to be more liquid, some equity there. And the any group can come in and still ask for an Iowa State Daily ad. They can ask for 2, they can ask for 3. We'll give them 3. But so that it's just, I think, a reasonable thing to do. And I appreciate you coming in here again. I was not here the first time, but I see that you did come here for a second time. So thanks. How you doing?
Speaker Williams.
Okay, at this time, I would like to propose the Finance Committee amendment that I actually already have written out. Or I think Senator Fitton did that. And the amendment is to insert the words "on Friday, November 1st, between that and in the last enacted clause to read enacted that on Friday, November 1st. The last one. Okay, that. That on February, November 1st, the subsection Iowa State Daily under the section advertising be eliminated from criteria expenditures portion of the document. So that this just be enacted in November.
The question has been called and seconded on the amendment.
I was just curious, does that mean that organizations could, until November 1st, still apply for that money?
We have special allocations here this Sunday, so organizations will be going through that. And so, I guess, is there anything you want to add to that?
We have that special allocations process this coming week. That's for groups that didn't go through the regular process for some reason. A lot of them transition issues between the former executive members, and so they go through further expenses for their second semester this year. So some of those groups will still be seeking loans for the daily ad under the rules we use for the entire school.
Thanks.
Okay. Question has been called and seconded on the amendment. UC has been called on the amendment. Is there any objection to unanimous consent on the amendment? The amendment passes. We're now back in discussion of the bill as a whole. Question has been called and seconded. We'll now move into voting. So yes means you want to pass this and eliminate daily advertisements from P&C. No means you do not want to eliminate them from P&C. And abstain means you have a bias system. Abbas.
Pass.
Alexander.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Renzoni.
Yes.
Breitbart.
Abstain.
Birch.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Debates.
Yes.
Fitton.
Yes.
Foley.
Yes.
Granadrova.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Kensler.
Yes.
Mead.
Yes.
Lang.
Yes.
Merle.
Yes.
Nygaard.
Yes.
Osborne. Parkinson.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Plantenberg.
Yes.
Schulte.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Snell.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Triparthy.
Yes.
Voss.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Abbas.
Yes.
By a vote of 31 to 0 to 1, this passes. We're now on Senate Bill 2013-2-042F, sending water ski club nationals.
Title, sending water ski club nationals. We have groups here to speak about what the bill is about. They came here about yesterday afternoon. Actually, sorry, I'm going to move to waive second reading. And I disagree.
Is there any objection to waiving second reading? Go
All
ahead.
right, and they'll talk about the circumstances that brought them here. Kate and I, or excuse me, Senator Walsh, literally yesterday afternoon before Finance Committee in the West Student Office space. So we'll yield to the group to speak about the bill.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Matt Kounick. I am a team member of the Iowa State water ski team. And as of Monday at about 8:30, we've qualified for Collegiate Water Ski Nationals, and we'll be representing Iowa State University among 20 other colleges down in El Centro, California. And why we're coming here to speak tonight is we are asking for funding to make this trip a little more possible financially for some of our team members. Round trip, it is over 3,300 miles, and we have to pay $100 per person or per skier to ski it down at these Collegiate Water Ski Nationals. I guess I can open up the floor for questions if anyone has any.
Speaker Williams.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to propose the Finance Committee memo, or amendment, and this changes their costs. It changes the quantity involved, the amount to 100, which is then $1,200, and then it's split between student org and GSB, so that'd be $600 in the GSB column, which changes the amount from $1,145 to $1,505. and I'll yield to finance committee to explain the amendment. Or if someone does.
Would you like to explain that, Senator?
Just to let Senate know, first of all, I accept the amounts in the original bill, but then we learned during the finance committee meeting yesterday that it is $100 per skier, not $40 that we originally thought. We have to send me. Okay, I will call a question on the
Right. Question has been called and seconded on the amendment. UC has been called. Is there any objection to UC on the amendment? The amendment passes. We're back on discussion of the bill as a whole. Senator Neves.
Render a question here.
You may.
Okay, so perhaps I'm looking at the wrong budget here. I'm looking at your budget for fiscal year 13. So, and on that you have competitive trips nationals. We plan to again qualify for nationals, and one of the requested, the only thing we funded for that was competitive trip registration. And we funded $600 for your registration fee. So perhaps this is not best for the group for Senator Fitt. Can you explain why we're funding this again, or is this a different fee?
Correct me if I'm wrong, you said FY14?
Yes.
We're in FY14.
Well, FY 13-14. Water ski 13.
Oh, under OFP2?
Yep.
Just a second.
Less than or perhaps the group knows.
From what I understand is the finance committee will give us, they will give us half of the registration fees, and there's a mileage, so 3,300 miles we'll be traveling. The finance committee, the rate they use is 54 cents a mile, and then from that 54 cents they take half of it. So the total comes out to 1,500 with registration and then mileage.
Okay.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is the treasurer here with you this evening?
He was not able to make it.
Okay, I guess I do get Senator Neese' point real quick. There is already an allocation for the registration fee to the group in OFP2, and you can go to the finance memo and find a link to see this information yourself. That gives funding only for the registration and not for the travel. So it's my inclination, though, that SEC would not give it to them because it hadn't been proven yet that they will kind of go to return. Just as a question to the group real quick, though, there is $600 allocated to your group already for the national tournaments. It says San Diego, California, but I'm still assuming that.
That's right in the area. That's
Okay,
the nearest major
but
city.
it is the same national tournament, there's
Correct.
one per year. So I share Senator's concern that can you explain how there's all these $600 allocated?
Our treasurer is not here tonight.
I've spoken with our treasurer, and he said that no money's being given to the team for this trip. It's all out of pocket at this point.
Gotcha. And just clear confusion for you guys, I guess. That's simply just how our funding process works. A lot of time it appears in the accounts retroactively. So if you've allocated this money, it's going to be there. You have the, if you think about national terms, you're authorized to spend that money at this current time. It's just not appropriated, I guess, if we were to use those terms. It's not in your account yet, but we'll give you that account, or excuse me, that amount based on what we've already allocated you. So, sharing Senator's concern at this time, I'm going to amend the current bill to start out the registration plan.
Has been moved and seconded to strike the registration line item. We're now on discussion of the amendment. Senator Fitt, okay. Senator Fencer?
So just to make absolutely sure, this money has been allocated, it wasn't cut there and voted about the same job. Okay, sounds great.
Senator Voss?
Yeah. Well, may I address a question to the vice chair?
You may.
Well, I said to Canoe when he was on there, vice chair as well. So, if they're, this is just more of my inquiry here. If they were allocated this $600 here tonight and they already had $600, would we take $600 back, or would they get $1,200 for the use of registration fees?
Can you clarify your question?
If Senator Nee had not caught that, and we gave $600 plus the $600 we had already allocated, Would only $600 though go towards registration fees, or would $1,200 then go?
They would receive $1,200.
Good catch. Deal.
Question's been called and seconded on the amendment. UC has been called. Is there any objections? Unanimous consent. The amendment passes. We're now back in discussion of the bill as a whole. As a reminder, the bill is now changed so that we only have one line item, which is national tournament travel, the mileage to travel to California. So, Senator Meade.
I'd just like to reiterate for you guys, so you already received this money. Your treasurer may have misunderstood a line item or something, but you already received $600 for this trip registration. So if for some reason you guys aren't catching that, get in contact with our finance director, or Disky, or vice chair of the finance committee, Sarah Fitton over there. But so you guys already received this money, so it's not like you're not getting it now. It's just, it should have been already allocated to you. So if you have a problem receiving it, make sure to get in contact with us and we can figure something out. But you should already have this money, so that's not, don't be worried about that.
We will speak with them. We weren't aware of that, and our treasurer's pretty on top of that, and he would have known about it, so we'll ask him again.
Okay. How you doing?
Yeah, two quick things. If you guys do have any problems and you find out that something's not the way it's supposed to be, you have my information, so I'll give you my information at the end of the day, and make sure you get in contact with us. And then I hate that this keeps on happening, but I do want to apologize to Senator police. There are some immature mistakes we are making, and it's unfortunate that they're occurring on the floor. So you do our best to make sure that we take care of these things.
Vice Speaker Snell.
Thank you. I just want to point out quickly, since we're worried about money, just running some numbers here. We just failed a bill that was 1.27% of capital projects, and now $905.
Vice Speaker Snell, I will not allow this.
$905 is germane to this bill, and that is 12.10% discretionary. Just pointing that out. We're gonna have the argument about money, and there's the argument about money.
Senator Meade, this is your third.
Oh, my bad.
Question has been called and seconded. Now voting on this bill. Abbas.
Pass.
Alexander. Pass. Baker.
Pass.
Bauer.
Yes.
Benzoni. Breitbart.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Jordy.
Yes.
Bates.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Season.
It's like high school playground.
Fitton.
Yes.
Please don't have side conversations. As a reminder, please don't have side conversations while we're in the middle of voting. Foley.
Yes.
Granazarova. Johnson.
Pass.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Kensler.
Yes.
Mead.
Yes.
Lang.
Yes.
Merle.
Yeah.
Nygaard.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Parkinson.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Plantenberg.
Yes.
Schulte.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Snell.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Triparthi. Voss.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Abbas.
Yes.
Alexander. Yes. Baker.
Yes.
Johnson. Yes. Did I miss anyone in the voting? By a vote of 30 to 0 to 2, this passes.
Thank you, everyone.
We're now on Senate Bill 2013-2-038F. I'm not sure what the title of that bill is, so whoever has it. 038F, funding Canoe Club.
All right. Funding ISU Canoe and Kayak Club. This bill was tabled in Finance Committee for 2 weeks. We asked the group to prioritize the bill to a much higher level. And look for some discounts. And with that, I'll turn it over to the group.
Hi. We were able to bring our costs down to nearly half. This is not the current bill at all.
Finance committee amendment is
If you want, we'll go ahead and vote on Speaker Williams.
Okay, at this time, I would like to propose the finance committee amendment to reflect, I'm sure, the discounts that you have.
Everything.
So this changes the amount, the grand total from $6,567 to, correct me if I'm wrong, but $3,080.
Yes.
That's all the information I received. If there's certain line items that were discounted,
Yeah.
it's in the finance, and I looked at it right here.
Oh, thank you.
So the Finance Committee amendment to change that total to $3,800. They're working on getting the line items up right now. We're on discussion of the amendment only right now. So is there any discussion on the amendment?
Question.
Second.
You see.
Question has been called and seconded on the amendment. UC has been called. Is there any objection to UC? Amendment passes. We're now back on discussion of the bill as a whole. Senator Breitbart.
May I address the group?
May.
I was just wondering how many group members you guys have?
Currently, we have 36 on our student org database, student members, and then we also have a fairly large community involvement of 18 non-student members as well.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Terhall.
May I address the group?
You may.
I noticed you guys had PFDs on there, and for context, I have not noticed this, personal flotation devices, life jackets. So how many PFDs do you guys have, and versus how many people need to use them during your events?
We currently do not have enough PFDs for every boat. At the beginning of the summer, we paddle at Ada Hayden, and we had to actually send out an email to the community because for the rules of Ada Hayden, you need to have one PFD for every boater, and we only had 11, and we had over 20 people showing up, so we didn't have enough boats. We had to go around borrowing boats from people that live in the Ames area to get people in boats.
How many life jackets would you anticipate needing to cover as many people in boats as you own?
We are asking for 4 PFDs, bring us up to 15, which is about what we have for boats. So at least we'll have enough, 1 PFD for every boat.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Fitton.
At this time, I'm going to move to the bill to put the kayaking and paddle line items, all amounts goes for the GSB column to the ski world column, meaning the spray skirts, PFDs, and helmets in the GSB column.
Second.
Just to explain to the group, this is actually kind of the process you got to witness play out a little bit tonight with the Triathlon Club. A couple weeks ago, we funded their helmets at that time and saw what the balance to our accounts was currently, and then we made simply whether we thought the growth of the group was justified to have these expenses from our current mechanics. And so I'd like to see the same debate be equitable to all groups this evening. Is that all good?
We're now in discussion of the amendment only. Senator Lee.
Address the group.
You may.
So you requested obviously a specific number of PFDs and helmets. I imagine that's for a specific number of watercraft. I'm assuming that they're correlated. So would not receiving these watercraft decrease the amount of PFDs and helmets you need?
No, these are, we're asking for the boats that we currently have, and I don't know if I'll get to talk about the boats later, but they're also different purposes for the boats as well.
Okay. So the PFDs that you're requesting here aren't for the kayaks that you're requesting
No.
above, they're for different equipment.
They're for the existing boats we have.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Kensler.
May I address the group?
You may.
Could you guys please talk about the, essentially the need for these kayaks and, well, paddles as well, but as far as with pertaining to competition, like, yeah, if that makes sense.
Yes, the Gallus Eco is specifically a competition boat. We have one big competition that we do over spring break, and it is a slalom competition. It's similar to, you guys probably have seen slalom skiing where you go through the gates. It's same with that. And kayaking, we have one competition boat that last spring break 4 people have to share, and which is generally not, it's like kind of like sharing a same bike for a triathlon almost. Like it's really hard. Sometimes you're back to back. The boat also is for larger people, so the girls or smaller people have to paddle a boat that is not proportional to their size, and it makes it a lot harder. And kayaking, as you're going down the river, you have to carry your boat all the way back up, and it makes it very hard when multiple people are competing, going from the finish line to the start. And the barn is just another, it's a river runner boat, which would help for our trips. We have our newer members, we've had about 10 people consistently coming to pool sessions, and our boats are sized. They come in small, medium, large, different heights, different sizes, and we've had a lot of taller people coming, and they know how to share boats, and they don't all fit in the boats that we have.
So, from what I gathered from what you just said, so you're telling me the Pico and the Arum, both those kayaks are, they're either different size or different make of what you already have?
Yes, the Gala Sport would be another slalom boat for a smaller paddler. So, and also just so we have more than one competition boat, as it is generally frowned upon to share boats at competitions, and very hard when there's multiple people sharing one boat. Okay. And the barn would also suit a larger person.
Okay.
Senator Benzoni.
Right, may I address the group? Hey, Mariah. What would you see as your anticipated growth in the next couple semesters?
Well, we've had record numbers this year. I think a lot of clubs have been experiencing. We've had at least, we have 10 people that had come consistently to pool sessions.
Okay, and when I'm addressing the whole Senate as a whole, I would argue that they are unlike triathlon clubs simply because they do present a clear and present immediate need for these, as they're running above capacity as opposed to triathlon clubs. I apologize if it's not. They're running above their capacity to use the floor.
Still on discussion of the amendment?
Question?
Yes, you decided. The question has been called and seconded. We'll now vote on the amendment. Okay. UC has been called.
Object.
And objected, so we will vote on. So voting on the amendment, if you say yes, it means you want to change the funding of the kayaks and the paddles from being under the GSB column to the steward column. If you say no, it means you want to keep the funding for those items under the GSB column. And abstain means you apply for some reason. Are there any questions about what it means to go yes or no? Okay. So please put your placards out for yes, meaning you want to move it from the GSB column to the steward. Placards up for yes. Up high. Down. Placards up for no. Down. Placards up for abstentions.
Did you abstain, Bob?
No. Did you put your thing up?
I had mine up right away and I go through it, but I didn't.
Okay, so we're going to
I'm sorry.
recount.
I'm sorry.
So please put your placard up high for yes. Up high. Down. Placards up for no. We're good. And abstentions. Vote of 15-15-2. This is tie. I will break this.
50%.
No.
It's a tie.
So even if you voted, it would
Okay. So this amendment fails. We're now back to discussion of the bill as a whole. The amendment fails, so that means that the dollar totals are staying in the GSB column. Right? Senator Meade. You may.
For the paddles that you requested, are those like wooden paddles or are those heavy duty paddles? Are they going to last 3 years basically, longer than 3 years basically?
Yeah, the last time we actually asked for GSB funding was 3 years ago, and all our gear still that we have is in good condition, and we expect these ones to last as well. For that are still up to code, basically. Our helmets are not up to code that we're asking for.
Wait, so the helmets we're funding will not last 3 years?
No, the helmets won't. I wanted to clarify that some of our gear is outdated, and that's why we're asking for more.
Okay, sorry. I get it.
Speaker Williams.
I'm very intrigued by this bill, considering the fact that I voted no on our past bill. Stick with me for a second, just because of its merits and of what happened. And so I'm going to be voting the same way on the merits for this bill. I don't think that the kayaks and paddles are necessary. I do, however, like the safety equipment, which is exactly what we just did. So I ask you, please, and I'm very interested because the people who voted down the amendment were the same ones that just got rid of it, the previous one. So I'd like someone to clarify why this bill is so different and why we're funding kayaks and paddles and why you think that that's necessary, because I would just like to know for that. I am not in favor of funding those two things. The safety gear I am fully supportive for that. I deem as necessary. So I would like to hear a little bit more discussion on this bill from everyone. So thank you. I yield.
Senator Brightburn.
In regards of what the speaker said, that I would like to say that I'm going to be voting yes for this bill because I think that the equipment out there is definitely necessary for the group to work at capacity. As they said, they have a need. They have taller students that don't fit into the kayak, and that seems like an immediate need to me. So I will be voting yes on this, and I urge the rest of you to do the same.
Senator Birch.
I would like to move to reconsider the amendment. Just some sense of confusion that was going on amongst senators.
Can you repeat that? I can't hear you over here.
Yeah, it has been moved and seconded to reconsider the amendment that previously failed. In order to do so, we would need a majority vote to even consider it again. President Hughes.
Let me stop for a quick question, or I guess this may direct a question to Senator Birch.
You may.
If I'm not mistaken, whoever makes the motion has to be on the prevailing side of the vote, so did you cast a no vote for the amendment? Okay.
Thank you, President Hughes. So it's been moved and seconded to reconsider the motion. We will now vote on whether or not we will reconsider that amendment. So if you vote,
as a point of information to the chair, when we vote to reconsider, we do a roll call vote. Senators on the record will be.
Just give me a minute to get set up. Okay, so if you'd like to reconsider this amendment, you will say yes. If you don't want to, you'll say no. Abbas.
No.
Alexander. No. Please speak loudly and please stop having side conversations. Baker.
No.
Bauer.
Yes.
Benzoni.
No.
Freitag.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Debates.
No.
Fitton.
Yes.
Foley. No. Granadaroba.
Yes.
Johnson. Pass. Kaufman.
No.
Kensler.
No.
Nee.
Yes.
Lang.
No.
Merle.
Yeah.
Nygaard.
Yes.
Merle, what was your vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Osborne.
No.
Parkinson.
Nope.
Peterson.
Pass.
Plattenberg.
No.
Schulte.
Yes.
Sharp.
No.
Snell.
No.
Turhall.
Yes.
Triparty.
Yes.
Voss.
Yes.
Walsh.
Pass.
Williams.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Johnson.
No.
Peterson.
No.
Walsh.
No.
By a vote of 15 to 17 to 0, we will not be reconsidering the amendment. We are now back on discussion of the bill as a whole. Senator Fitton.
I just wanted to know, I asked Senator Birch to make that motion because I thought the group deserved to know on the record, the students deserved to know. We decided it wasn't worthy between the two groups, and I should have asked for a roll call vote on the original amendment we were considering. So that is my fault, and I do apologize to you for that. Thank you.
Still on discussion of the bill as a whole. And I can't, is that Senator Lang?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Kind of my explanation, because Senator Williams wanted to know why some people voted yes in the previous one or vice versa, or why they voted differently on this one. I'm going to vote yes in keeping the kayak and paddle here because these people are operating above capacity. That's my take on it. Whereas the kayak or the triathlon probably wasn't. So if people want an explanation as to why some of us are voting like that, that's my opinion on it. You.
Senator Voss.
Look at him.
Senator Schulte.
May I address the group?
You may.
I apologize if I missed this earlier, but can you just explain once again how many people you have right now and if you currently have a shortage of boats and how that's working right now?
Yeah, so we have over 40 members in our group and 15 boats. We, like Mariah said earlier, we have been in situations where there's not enough boats for people that are present and wanting to participate. We don't have enough PFDs for people that are present and wanting to participate, that are wanting to join our club, wanting to pay dues, wanting to go on trips, wanting to attend pool sessions and learn. And so we don't have enough gear to meet that. No.
And so by providing 2 more boats, would that just give 2 more students the opportunity to participate, or is it multiple? How many people per boat? How does that work?
So it's a little bit complicated because there are different kinds of boats with different purposes.
Specifically the ones we're funding here.
Okay, so the ones that we're funding, we have a small slalom boat, and we really need this to stay competitive, which is what Sports Club Council is encouraging us to do, and what our goal is as a sports club, is to stay competitive. And so when we only have one boat that we can use in slalom competitions, that really kind of pulls us down and inhibits us from doing that. So if we have another slalom boat, specifically one that's smaller, that means that we can get more members into competitions.
Yeah, approximately like how many members?
I would say that we would have,
Last spring break, we had 4 people sharing one, and then the rest of us just didn't use a slalom boat, which the point of competing is using a slalom boat. And we had 4 members medal last spring break, on top of the 4 that were already competing in slalom. And when you medal, you have to compete in slalom because then you're now put into the expert category. And so we will now have 8 people anticipated for next spring break sharing one boat.
Okay, so do all the boats go at the same time, or isn't it like staggered? So can't you use the same boat for multiple, like different rows?
Well, first of all, the boat that we do have, slalom boats are about 12 feet long. So they're not easy to get back up to the starting line. We are traveling about 500 feet, and it's a down gradient. So it's quite the track back up to the starting line with a 80-pound boat, and then it does not work as for the smaller paddlers. It is too large of a boat, and it's harder to roll back up.
Thank you.
Senator Voss?
Yeah. A little bit of information. How many senators do we have present here, voting members?
32? 33 now. Senator Lund's right. Senator Voss?
Yeah, I'm looking for. How much time is remaining on the bill? As a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes. We have been discussing this bill for 24 minutes, so you have 26 minutes remaining.
26 minutes remaining. Is there anyone else here who's going to speak? Other than Nicole, you question.
What? Sorry, I just...
Point of information to the chair, we have 21 minutes, correct?
Yes, you are correct, Senator Fitch. Yes.
No, I guess not. Never mind. I'll you.
Senator Fitch.
I just want to know real quick to send in. I know I've heard a couple people mention that they're voting no on this bill. I'm pretty torn on how to vote for it as well, but I think it is essential that this group will receive the safety equipment that is necessary for them to operate this club. So that's my only
comment. Senator Brightmark, you have used 2 speaking privileges already, but you kind of asked for unanimous consent to the Senate to use the 3rd.
Will the Senate give me unanimous consent to another speaking privilege, please?
Are there any objections? Okay, go ahead, Senator Brightmark.
May I address the
I don't have an objection, but has everyone else spoken first before we grant the 3rd? I mean, the people that have their placards up? That is really what we grant. That's the question.
Is that, can you restate your question, please?
Well, I just want to make sure that everyone that has had a first time to speak before we grant a 3rd one, then I do have an objection. I mean, I just wanted the placards up if they spoken yet.
I understand what you're saying. No, not everyone has spoken
Because
yet.
I do object to the 3rd.
Okay. If you want to, you can move down.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Senator Triparthi?
Yeah, I just wanted a quick clarification. So the safety equipment that you have listed over here, that is for your existing boats, but you have also asked for new boats. And do you have safety equipment in those boats already, or won't you need more helmets and more PFDs for the kayaks that we are requesting in this?
So the safety equipment isn't assigned to a specific boat. Like, it's not like this helmet always goes with this boat. It's more to meet the needs of the people that we have. Because all the skirts and the PFDs and the helmets are all sized differently.
So it doesn't have to be the exact same number, but we're lacking in all of these categories. Does that make sense? And we have a couple of members that would, if necessary, could get their own PFDs. We have like 2 members that own PFDs of our 30+ members.
Senator Doherty.
May I address the group? So my question was, do you guys do any sort of other fundraising outside of asking GSB for allocations?
We do have many of our founding members of the club still active, and we get personal donations from them. We do a clinic in Charles City, which is the closest whitewater park to Ames, where we brought in I think $500 this summer in offering like a rolling clinic and just basic paddle skills.
The follow-up question, I guess, would be, do you have an exact number of how much money you guys have raised? Raising opportunities?
Not total. I know the most recent fundraising effort was $500.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a total.
Oh, that's fine. So to the Senate, although they don't raise far, like near as many funds as other groups that came in, and although they don't have as many members as other groups that came in, I think they still deserve the equipment that they're asking for because they do have a need for it, and the students should get what they deserve. So I would urge a yes vote on the bill.
Senator Kenseth.
All right, so I hear a lot of people saying that they're really torn on this bill. They don't know which way they're going to vote because they're in full support of the safety equipment, but the question about the kayaks is still leaving a bad taste in their mouth. So at this time, I'm going to motion to divide the question between and divide out the capital items, which would be divide out the kayaks and the paddles into a separate bill, and then leave the rest in this bill. And basically, to let the group know what this is going to do, we basically take a vote on each bill. This would happen tonight, so you guys wouldn't have to come back unless something else happens, but it would happen right after we deal with the safety equipment.
It's been moved and seconded to divide the question, changing the kayaks and paddles, is one of those two, to their own bill. We do need a majority vote to do so.
And as pertaining to the floor, I'm still going to ask for UC just because if this bill fails, we would deprive them of the safety equipment which they need. So, UC.
What?
Yeah.
UC, unanimous consent has been called to divide the question. Is there any objection to UC? Is there any objection to unanimous? Okay, we will divide the question.
Retaining the floor on the safety equipment, the BFDs and the spray skirts and the helmets. I'm going to call a question on that bill.
Second. So we are now, question has been called and seconded on the safety portion of this bill. Will that stay at 0.3?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you'd like to fund their safety gear, you would vote yes. If you do not want to fund the safety gear, you would vote no. Abstain, you choose not to vote for some reason. Abbas.
Yes.
Alexander. Yes. Baker.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Benzoni.
Yes.
Breitbart.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Debates.
Yes.
Fitton.
Yes.
Foley.
Yes.
Renner-Doroga. Yes. Johnson.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Kensler.
Yes.
Kearns. Sorry, this is a different voting sheet. Me.
Yes.
Lang.
Yes.
Lund.
Abstain.
Merle.
Yes.
Nygaard.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Parkinson.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Plettenberg.
Yes.
Schulte.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Snell.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Triparthy.
Yes.
Loss.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
By a vote of 32 to 0 to 1, this passes.
As a point of information, Chair, do I get another speaking privilege now that it was?
Senator Brightworth, yes, because it would be.
Great, thank you.
So now we're on this.
What is the number?
It's 043.
We're now on Senate Bill 2013-2-043. And that is discussing the kayaks and paddles for this club. Senator Kenseth, you still have the floor.
Retaining the floor on this bill, I feel like everybody's made up their mind based off the previous vote on the amendment. I'm going to call the question.
Objection.
Question has been seconded. It has been objected. Question is not withdrawn. We will now vote on whether or not we will vote.
Point of information, does Senator Kenseth retain the floor even though we're on the new bill?
Well, at the very least, I would be the author on the new bill.
Thank you,
Yes.
Chair.
You're welcome. That's my other voice. I'm surprised you haven't heard it before. So we'll now vote on whether or not we're going to vote on this bill. If you would like to proceed immediately to voting, you will vote yes. If you don't want to vote, you will vote no. Abstain means abstain. We're going to do a placard vote. So placards up for yes, you want to vote now. Raise it high. Down. Placards up for no. Down. Up for abstentions. By a vote of 10 to 23 to 0, we will not be voting on this bill yet. We're now back on discussion of the bill as a whole. Senator Wall.
I would just like to point out at this time that, again, this group came with the original bill to Finance Committee a couple weeks ago and was asking for only double this amount. We asked them to get some discounts, we asked them to prioritize. They did. They need more books. It's obvious. But we're trying to be tight on spending, and we're trying to match what we just did on a previous bill. And I don't think that's something that a Senate should do, or any governing body, because every situation is different, and you can't just base every decision on another decision. It just doesn't work. I think the last group should have had funding, that's but I also think this group should have funding. Maybe in the votes, I'll say that again. They went through the process, they fundraised, and I think it's a good use of student fee money. With that, I'll yield.
Senator Fitton.
Senator Washington, this is a question. This was, done by the committee with the real values, correct?
That is correct.
With that being said, I will call the question. Second. Someone object? By that person.
Questions being called and seconded. We'll now be voting on this bill. So yes means you want to fund the kayaks and paddles, and no means you don't want to. Abstain means you're biased. For some reason, you're not voting. Abbas.
Yes.
Alexander. Abstain. Baker.
Yes.
Bauer. Benzoni.
Abstain.
Breitbart.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Bates.
Yes.
Fitton.
No.
Foley. Yes. Granadorova.
Abstain.
Johnson. Yes. Kaufman.
Yes.
Kensler.
Yes.
Nee.
Yes.
Lang.
Yes.
Lund.
Abstain.
Merle.
Yes.
Nygaard.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Parkinson.
Yep.
Peterson.
Yes.
Plantenberg.
Yes.
Schulte.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Snell.
Point of information, Chair, I am voting whether or not to give them kayaks. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Turbo.
No.
Triparthy.
Yes.
Voss. Walsh.
Yes.
Williams.
No.
Wolf.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you please not have side conversations while we're voting? Sure. Thank you. Did I miss someone? Huh? Where's that? By a vote of 25 to 3 to 5, this passes. We're now on Senate Bill 2013-2-037F. Replenishing Senate Discretionary. Senator Finch.
Title, Replenishing the Senate Discretionary. Also, at this time, I'm going to move to waive the reference.
Second.
Last read, C.
Second read, waive.
Just so everyone knows, the amount is arbitrary either way you look at it. It's not a specific amount to fund a specific bill, but it's also just bringing down the events account to 20,000 even per my calculations last Tuesday, so yesterday with Mary. And it all would also obviously make way for the funding that we did tonight for the West. That's all you.
Senator Ross.
Question.
As a point of information to the chair, transferring from account space to 232, correct?
You are correct, Senator Finch. Question has been called and seconded.
Yeah, a point of information, Finance Committee. Where is this, I was just wondering where the money's coming from.
Events account.
I guess I can.
Says that in the letter.
I misread it.
Question has been called and seconded. We will now be voting on this bill. Abbas.
Yes.
Alexander. Yes. Baker.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Benzoni. Breitbart.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Debates.
Yes.
Fitton.
Yes.
Foley. Yes. Granadrova.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Kensler.
Yes.
Nee.
Yes.
Lang.
Yes.
Lund.
Yes.
Merle.
Yes.
Nygaard.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Parkinson. Peterson.
Yes.
Clantenberg. Schulte.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Snow.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Triparthi.
Yes.
Voss.
Yes.
Walsh.
Step down.
Williams.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
By a vote of 29 to 0 to 1, this passes.
Actually, the chair can ask for a quorum call so we can get an actual count to keep that for the members that are here throughout the rest of the session. As in, like, a roll call to see who holds a quorum call.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just like have a major headache right now. I'm very
It's okay. Just so, because the numbers
What do I
have
need
been
to
fluctuating throughout the night, so we can ask for a quorum call.
Do I just need to say? Abbas, just say whether you're present or not.
Here.
Alexander. Here. Baker.
Here.
Bauer.
Present.
Benzoni.
Here.
Breitbart.
Here.
Birch. Here. Doherty.
Present.
Debates.
Here.
Fitton.
Present.
Foley. Here. Granadrova. Here. Johnson. Yep. Kaufman.
Here.
Kensler.
Here.
Nee.
Here.
Lang. Here. Lund.
Present.
Merle.
Present.
Nygaard. Here. Osborne.
Here.
Parkinson.
Here.
Here.
Sharp. Here. Snell. Turtle. McCarthy. Goss.
Here.
Walsh. Williams.
Here.
Wolf. We're now on Senate Order 2013-2-044 SR, supporting partnership for student affordability.
Title, supporting the partnership for student affordability. This is our second read, so I just need the title, and I will yield my time to President.
Thank you. I discussed this briefly last week, so just to give a bit of a refresher, the idea behind this resolution, which supports the proposed tuition freeze that's come from the Board of Regents and their plan, the university's plan for a 4% general appropriations increase, which they're requesting from the state legislature. This would be just a statement on behalf of the students of Iowa State, primarily for use with the legislature, because of the Board of Regents, they don't really need anything. It was their idea to begin with. So with the point behind this is that we can use this, especially with our ambassadors organization. It's a helpful tool when we speak with legislators about the need and the importance of this appropriations increase to support the tuition freeze, which is the whole purpose behind it. I was asked last week a question of intent regarding my addressing why this does not deal with out-of-state tuition, out-of-state tuition freeze. As a matter of fact, I believe that was Senator Kensler. I'll just yield to Senator Kensler if you can clarify that question, because I might be misremembering from a week ago.
So actually, I think you got spot on. It just basically asked, why are we not including the out-of-state tuition freeze as well with what we're requesting? It seems like we're just going off what the Board of Regents request. Why are we stuck on that? Why are we asking for just a little bit more?
Can you clarify a little bit further what you're asking for? I want to make sure.
Why is it just in-state students?
Why is this resolution just in-state students, or the proposal from the board?
No, the resolution we're voting
on. Okay, I think I understand that. The resolution is the way that it is because frankly, that's what's going to happen. The political realities don't make a out-of-state tuition freeze feasible whatsoever. Basically, how it works is the university is looking to have a modest increase in its funds consistent with HEPI, which is the Higher Education Price Index, essentially inflation. And the 4% is slightly above that, but that's for a number of different reasons. There's a lot of details. The point is that the tuition freeze for in-state students, the money's not being increased there, so the appropriations increase from state money is meant to support those in-state students. That's what state appropriations are meant to do at all the public universities. Essentially, they are subsidies for Iowa resident students paid by Iowa taxpayers. That money, essentially, in this very simple way of understanding it, is not meant to support out-of-state students. So in order to maintain the same level of, to maintain academic excellence and to continue improving along that, to have that type of inflation increase, the only way to support that for out-of-state students is through tuition dollars. Does that make sense why the rationale is? So following that, we could ask for more, we could ask for tuition to be free, but that would be a much less powerful bargaining tool, I guess, when we lobby at the Capitol. This is much more realistic. It's in line with the proposal from the board, from the university, across every party involved is on the same page if we stay on this page as well. And so that just kind of increases our leverage. Does that make sense?
It does. Will you repeat that question?
Sure.
I don't know if it's along that line, because essentially you said that this is the reality, this is what's going to happen. It's very, very, very unlikely that a tuition freeze for out-of-state students will happen. What would be the harm of amending to the state that we support a tuition freeze both for in-state and out-of-state?
I'm not sure if there would be harm in the sense of when we're talking with legislators, but I would like to address that issue. I would not support a tuition freeze for out-of-state students, and the reason for that is because the university budget would take a serious hit. The university is planning around that tuition increase for out-of-state students. Like I said, that money is meant to support the same sort of inflationary increase
that the in-state students are also experiencing, and that's being subsidized, that's proposed to be subsidized by the legislature. So, I mean, tuition free sounds great, and it is a wonderful thing when we're able to get that money from another source, such as the state. When you're talking about out-of-state students, if we were to freeze tuition, which again isn't really realistic, but if that was on the table, that would result in cuts somewhere in the university. Some sort of services would necessarily have to be cut because that money simply isn't there anymore.
I yield. Thank you.
Senator Bronzoni.
As a matter of personal privilege, may I have my name added to the bill?
As a point of information, Chair, if you'll allow me, I will pass around an amendment form. Anybody who wishes to do so may have their.
Perfect.
Can I just make one comment I really left to mention earlier?
Yeah.
Thank you. I just would like to comment, the University of Iowa undergraduate student government and their graduate and professional student government both passed essentially an identical, not really identical, but basically resolution in support of the same, and the University of Northern Iowa student government is also planning to do a similar resolution as well.
Senator 55.
Will the President pose a question?
Sure.
You said that you wouldn't personally be in favor of a resolution that had a tuition freeze for out-of-state students, correct?
Can I clarify that?
Absolutely.
I would not support that if it was not accompanied by a significant appropriations increase targeted at that tuition freeze.
Okay. So would your objections hold, or excuse me, if we would make language in the manner that you just stated, would you be in support of that person? I can propose an amendment in that.
I suppose on the principle of the matter, like I said before, it would be great. I would support on the principle a resolution saying that education at Iowa State should be free and the state government should fully support all $33,000. Well, but I think that amending this resolution to include that what I would consider to be based on the realities of the situation at present, the time frame that we're working under, the regent's vote is in 2 weeks. The meeting, based on where they're going to move forward with this plan for the tuition freeze for undergraduate residents. The university has already been, all their numbers are planned out in terms of the tuition proposal that they're planning. The docket will be released in a little more than a week and a half. So just based on the time frame, it's not really realistic to expect those types of recommendations to have any sort of sway in policy at this point. And I think that would just kind of be extraneous language based when we're working under if we're working under a recommendation for what we want to see for tuition fees for 2014, 2015. We can always address the issue later if we want to be more forward-thinking, when the legislature's in session at the beginning of the next calendar year. If we want to talk about doing something more, a bolder plan that addresses 2015-16, that would probably be the appropriate time for that. But given the current circumstances, it won't really accomplish, it certainly won't accomplish what you'd like it to accomplish, and then the potential harms of it kind of watering down the language and some sort of credibility loss, I don't think that it's helpful.
Just as a quick follow-up, and not meaning to drag this out, do you believe there's credibility gained from passing this resolution then?
I certainly don't think that it's helped by including that type of language when given the time frame that we're under.
So just the current resolution, do you believe there's credibility gained by passing this?
Credibility probably wasn't the right word to use in that circumstance. I think this resolution as written will be helpful when our ambassadors and other students, every student's welcome obviously to speak with state legislators. That's the idea that the student body, and this body here, in this term speaks on behalf of the student body. The student body is well behind the efforts that are being pushed forward by our university leadership, by President Lee, by the people in his office who have worked on the budget and on their requests for the next year. Knowing that the students are on the same page as those proposals that have been coming forward and are already now at the point where they're starting to roll, I think that is positive.
I guess my only point to make was, I don't believe that you're holding much water if you say that this is going to happen, so we're just going to pass a resolution to go along with the political reality. So that's the first point I wanted to make. But second of all, I guess my concern with not debating fully that language is that we say we're speaking on behalf of students with this resolution, but I bet if you went and talked to the majority of the student body, they'd also, especially our out-of-state students, many of whom are sitting in this room, would also like to see that sort of language in the bill, no matter what the political realities would be. I think that would truly represent the opinion of the student body, and that's just my personal opinion. That's all I can gain from my constituents. A third of my house is from Minnesota alone, so I'm not saying that that tonight is the appropriate time to do that. I'm not saying that this resolution and the language in it does not lack merit. I'm just saying generally if we're actually speaking on behalf of students, we should make sure that we're doing it appropriately in all facets of our process. So with that,
Can I quickly respond to clarify something? I believe I may have misspoke, or there may be a miscommunication on the floor. I don't mean to claim that the process laid out in the resolution is essentially a sure thing, or that this all will definitely happen. The appropriations increase is far from a sure thing. If you follow state politics, you have seen perhaps some discussions about that, that the Republican members of the state legislature are at this time unsure about whether or not the number is appropriate. So there may be some work that needs to be done on our side if we do support the 4% increase on our side, kind of moving the needle from the governor's office and especially from the state house to make sure that that is actually something that would happen. So that's far from a sure thing at this point. So that there is opportunity for persuasion at that level. I just wanted to clarify that.
Senator Meade.
Madam Mr. President. Is there a particular, I don't mean to be overly pedantic here, but is there a particular reason why we included the exact 4% value as opposed to just stating a funding increase?
The number is included because that's what the number is.
That's what they're requesting?
The request is 4%, yes.
Okay, but that does not necessarily mean that, okay, there could be negotiations for
Correct.
a different percentage.
Yes.
So, would that not, I'm just worried, as you said, the negotiations right now are very tense. So if the compromise ends up being 3% instead of 4%, I would hate for this resolution to lose its value as kind of a bargaining chip, or as the students support this because it says this percentage as opposed to a different percentage, instead of just saying a funding increase. If we say specifically we want 4% and then the legislature ends up compromising on 3%, then our resolution doesn't really support that compromise. Do you understand my issue, or do you not think that is an issue?
President.
I see your point. I think if it gets to the point where there's agreement on some sort of, I don't necessarily, let me take a step back. So at this point, the proposed funding increase is public information, so everyone knows that's what the university is looking for. And when and there's still a couple more months now until the legislature even comes into session, so that number is pretty well known. That's what the request is. If negotiations do happen, and they're certain to happen, when that number gets moved around, I think it's more valuable to have the students supporting. In my opinion, 4% is more than appropriate. I think it's important to have the student voice supporting that higher figure. So when the negotiations do inevitably happen, that provides some level of sway to where the number settles. So if we were to say we support a funding increase, then that gives some sort of cover to people who would not support this level of increase, to say, well, we can do a 0.5% increase. Whereas the number, which is clear, shows that, one, that we're on the same page as everybody else here, that we believe that 4% is appropriate, and like I said, I certainly do. And it also kind of sets us at that upper limit, if that makes sense,
yeah,
to kind of anchor the discussion around there to the extent that this would have the ability to do that.
Thank you.
Senator Birch.
Madam President. Okay, forgive me if this sounds a little under-researched, naive a little bit, but specifically for undergraduates, correct?
What do you mean by this?
This resolution that we're looking at specifically deals with undergraduate costs and undergraduate tuition.
With respect to the appropriations increase, that's for the general university budget, so that applies to every student. With respect to the tuition freeze, that applies to only undergraduate Iowa residents.
Okay, because you said something about how at other universities, their graduate professional senate pass this or is going to pass it. So I just wondered how, since it specifically said undergraduate in the resolution, how it would affect, say, me or people that I represent. Because even though I'm an out-of-state student with my assistantship, I get in-state tuition. So I just wanted to see, I mean, it's not like I've never been an undergrad. I understand the costs and everything that goes into that, but I just wanted to get a better understanding for how this would affect the people that I represent.
Sure. I do think that I should have clarified this earlier. I don't have a copy of the joint resolution from the two student government bodies at Iowa with me, but I have an understanding that the graduate student government support, their statement of support was dealing with a part of the supporting the appropriations increase. Like I said, that part of the increase would apply to the general university budget, which is really, that applies to everything the university touches. So.
Okay. See you.
Senator Johnson. I just wanted to give my perspective on some of the discussion on the floor of the potential amendment for including out-of-state students in this. And I think that President Hughes has given a really good response and reasons why that doesn't really acknowledge the reality of the situation, unfortunately. If we were to support that, as you correctly pointed out, that really, as much as the idea sounds good, the funding isn't then coming from anywhere, because the point of the Iowa legislature is to be supporting Iowa residents. They don't even honestly have, the right word, they don't really have jurisdiction to be supporting out-of-state students. The funding wouldn't be coming from anywhere else. And so I think it makes sense, with that kept in mind, for us to be showing unity with the regions and getting more leverage by appearing to all be on the same page. And I think that definitely in the future it would make sense to try to find another solution to keep costs low for out-of-state students. I acknowledge my bias potentially as an in-state student. It doesn't personally affect me anyways. But I think it definitely makes sense to be, as well as having our lofty political goals, to be acknowledging that these are the current realities of the situation, and then we deal with those in the future. There's more than a week and a half to do it in. And it just also in response to the point about how we represent the student body, and that's sort of like, this is again to get more of a lofty political view of things. Yes, we represent them, but it's with the understanding that we are given more information with which to voice their opinion. It's not, it's in the same sense that the federal government doesn't always do exactly what all the citizens do. It's the same sort of view, which I know you are aware of, but I just have to point that out. So I'm very much in support. This is the way it is, and if Senator Fenton or anybody else would like to throw some other solution to try and keep costs particularly low for out-of-state students in the future, I'm sure that we would all be very much behind that. But for now, this makes the most sense.
Question.
Question has been called and seconded. We are going to do a roll call vote on this, just because I think it's important. Abbas.
Yes.
Alexander. Yes. Baker.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Benzoni.
Yes.
Breitbart.
Yes.
Birch. Yes. Doherty. Debates.
Yes.
Fitton.
Yes.
Foley. Yes. Granadrova. Johnson. Yes. Kaufman.
Yes.
Kensler.
Yes.
Mead.
Yes.
Lang. Yes. Lund.
Yes.
Merle.
Yes.
Nygaard. Yes. Osborne. Parkinson.
Yes.
Peterson. Plantenberg.
Yes.
Schulte.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Snell.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Triparthy. Voss.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
By a vote of 30 to 0 to 2, this passes. We're now in new business. Senate Bill 2013-2
Okay, so I'll yield to election commissioner in just a second, but these are the bylaws that they're going through, which I'm sure he'll mention. And these are brought to the rules committee, and so we'll talk about it more next week. But I'll.
Yeah, we're only doing questions.
Yeah. Is it my intent to waive second read? Okay, good.
Any questions of intent regarding this bill?
Just quick, do you plan on having a member of the group present next week?
Low tide? Okay.
Senator Kinsley?
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Sorry. Cool. Senate Bill 2015-2-040B, increasing communication with Cabinet and Senate.
Title: Improving communication between GSB Senate and GSB Cabinet. Whereas the GSB Cabinet officers undertake many interesting projects and initiatives, and whereas there seems to be a general lack of interaction and coordination between the executive and legislative branches, and whereas more direct communication between the executive, cabinet, and Senate would make cabinet members, senators, and their constituents better informed, be it therefore enacted that beginning in November 2013, cabinet members begin providing monthly reports at regular Senate meetings to apprise the Senate of initiatives.
Now, questions of intent. Senator Bauer.
It's the office intent to talk with cabinet personally about this bill so that they have an idea of what's going on.
Yes, and as a side note, I have already.
Senator Kinsley?
Is it the officer's intent to explain why it's being proposed as a policy, not a bylaw?
Yes.
Senator Fitton?
Is it the author's intent to collect commentary from the executive branch itself to aid the subcommittee?
Yes.
Are there any further questions of intent? We're now in closing announcements. Election Commissioner Gunther. Podium is yours.
Okay, so I got a couple of things I want to talk about. The first is hopefully by next week I'll have the election timeline and the apportionment finalized. If you have any suggestions or comments on the timeline that you would like to see, please email me or talk to me, because I do not want to have to hear about you complaining about the timeline next week if you didn't have a chance to talk to me about it. Second, I'll be going through Chapter 13 bylaws with my newly confirmed and the old commission members this Saturday, Monday I mean. So if you have any suggestions specifically for Chapter 13, please let me know. And any other election code suggestions can also be let me know. You can also let me know about the election code, but that'll be a couple weeks down the road. The thing I do want to talk about is it's been brought to my attention by the Supreme Court of GSB that someone has put a petition in to change some of the finance campaign stuff. I don't really know what's going on. That's fine. I don't really mind. But I do, if anyone knows what's going on, if someone could please let me know, I would really appreciate it. It was my understanding that the Election Commission could kind of go through and go through the election code. If anyone had suggestions about anything, that we could go through it like adults. Apparently not. I do not like to be blindsided, but if this is how it's going to be, whatever, I don't know. So, come on.
Vice Chair Snell, do you have a question for Commissioner Gunther?
I do.
Commissioner Gunther, will you field a question?
Sure.
Okay, just so I know what I'm arguing about here, what exactly did you hear?
I got an email from, I guess she's the Chief Justice, Caitlin Hensel, that someone put in a petition, what was it, 6.3, which is spending limits on executive slate and Senate candidates. So no one has ever approached me about it. I don't know anything about this. No one's talked to me about it. I just feel like this is coming out of the blue. I feel like anyone on Senate would have approached me about this, talked to me, we could have got it done through the election commission, we could have voted on it as the Senate, so this is just a bit of a surprise to me. It kind of irks me a bit that this is out of line from what we've done in years previously and from what I understand, so. Does that answer your question?
First of all, it wasn't me, so.
Oh, I know it's not you.
Secondly, what was the petition for?
I don't know. Madam Supreme Court Justice, Chief, I don't know what the honorary is. She didn't want to discuss it. She's meeting with the Supreme Court in the next couple of days to discuss if they're going to take it. It's just been my understanding that in order for the Supreme Court to take something on, that there has to be an issue, or as my poli-sci majors call it, standing, which I don't believe may have occurred, as this doesn't affect anyone. I could have understood if this came up during the election cycle in April or March. I don't know why all of a sudden this is coming out of the blue. And as much as I stay in the GSB office, I can't believe I just didn't hear about this, so.
Okay, I do spend a lot of time in the GSB office, probably more than you, and I believe it has to do with the constitutionality of spending limits. That's all I know, but that addresses kind of what your question may be. And then if that's the case, then the Senate doesn't have a controversy if somebody here submitted that petition.
Are there any further questions for Commissioner Governor? Senator Fitton.
This is such a question, but I did petition the Supreme Court today to grant for certiorari to consider the constitutionality of state limits. So it's not personally attacking you, it's attacking the election.
Senator Kessler.
All right, moving on. I don't often criticize the Senate, and I'm not going to say what I really want to say tonight, but I would just mention real quick that when we have groups up here and people ask questions like, well, do you fundraise, or how many group members do you have, all that information is usually publicly accessible, whether it be in Finance Committee minutes or on the hyperlink that is on Finance Committee amendments, sodb.2or.iastate.edu/LC2. You can view all of the student organizations' budgets, whether that be for GSB or for council, and the line item for what they request. So please do your homework beforehand, because a lot of these questions that we're asking, you can easily find the answer if you put 5 minutes into the bill itself. With that, you can
Senator Johnson, may I address a question from this? It's not confrontational, I'm curious.
Sure.
I was curious, so do you mean that you submitted the petition, or that you were just adding your name to the petition to the Supreme Court, or what exactly was your role? I'm curious.
Move me down for a minute. Let someone else speak, and I can answer your question.
Senator Bauer.
As promised last week, since we do have close to a full Senate here tonight, we will be taking our picture directly after this meeting adjourns. So please do not run off and leave. It'll take less than 5 minutes. We're going to do it on the spiral staircase by the revolving doors. So it'll be super quick. I think Mr. Lancer said he would take a picture, or he has now. So we will meet down there directly after the meeting. It'll only take 5 minutes, because I know a lot of you dressed up tonight because I said last week that we would be taking a picture. So we're going to take one tonight after the meeting, whether you're wearing a flower shirt or not. So meet down by the spiral staircase, excuse me, right after the meeting. So run there right away so we can get this done and everyone can go home. Go Cyclones, because Dan's not here.
Senator Granadrova.
I met with Anna Persicari, she's the president of JPSS. She wanted me to tell you guys that she hosted the race show in 2009, I believe, and it's right now coming in again. It's on Friday, this Friday, I believe. There's a Facebook page at 7. She really encouraged me to tell you all guys who should come to see. It's free. She said it's fun. It's awesome, which connects diversity, so that's what I would say to you.
I speak to Senator
Yeah, could you tell me what was the name of that?
The race show.
Senator Pitt.
Thank you. As President Houston mentioned last week, he did not have an operating court for most of this year. So the court could not consider before this past week the issues that would come before them. At 2:30 this afternoon, I did email the justices of the Supreme Court with my previous statement. We've been speaking for some time, just general thoughts about spending limits between senators just on a casual basis. And I thought we haven't seen an active court for a while. We've been pretty concept that we just for them to give some kind of ruling on the constitutionality of these limits. And so that's what we'll be seeing. I've been informed by Associate Justice Peterson that we'll be meeting tomorrow on whether to grant cert. So if you have any questions, you can come and ask me afterwards, or Adam, I'm sure he'll have plenty to say.
Senator Parkinson.
Oh, also real quick, I want to just say thank you. I've enjoyed being acting finance director for a few hours. Really helped me, so thank you.
Senator Parkinson.
Hey, we'll change the subject. Model United Nations Club will meet tomorrow night, so I know we have 5 or 6 or 7 of us in here. So we meet tomorrow night at 7 in Carver, room 4. We are Tajikistan and also Bangladesh, our 2 countries this year. So hope to see every single one of you there tomorrow. Thank you. Night.
Senator Lang.
You know, if we got all of you here, we could get more countries because Monaco is still a bit. Okay, that's it.
Okay, my quick announcement is that I will not be here next week. Speaker Williams will be running the meeting. I have family that will be in town, so I'll be spending time with my family. Different family than my dad, who's in the back right now. Dad, I do. So, I will be here next week. That also being said, talking about the increase in communication with Cabinet and Senate bill, I do plan on talking to those of you in the office about that because even though I can't have an opinion when I have a gavel here, I do have an opinion about the bill. So please ask me any questions you have about it because I have input to give from a senator and from a VP perspective. No, on the communication bill. If you want to talk about the future compensation bill, you can ask me about that.
Yeah, we do. Can I announce that real quick?
Yes.
I know that, so you should remember, or all of you should remember, hopefully, that there is a bill examining the executive compensation, not the scholarships, so just room and board. I know I've offered this before, but again, please, if you have an opinion on that, or you think something should be changed, please come talk to me as we are looking forward to move forward on that in the very near future.
Senator Jones. I'm sorry, I don't have anything to say. But I know that also just speaking as the bill, as the primary author of the bill, I know that there's a lot of the intricacies there that raise a lot of questions that aren't addressed directly in the bill. And so in the interest of everyone going to the meeting next week with a better understanding of what is I'm trying to get at, I remember last a lot or email me or whatever with the thoughts that me and my 3 co-authors and other people I talked to had going into it, and I'll be happy to talk to Hillary and hear what your feelings are regardless. But just, yeah, we don't have to wait till next week to get a better understanding of what you're trying to get at. So.
That's all I have for closing announcements. Oh, wait. Greek Skill Green is inviting not just the Greek community, but all students to clean up Lake Laverne this Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. So they're going to be hosting that event. So if you want to go and help out in fantastic way on our campus, this is something that we've already talked about. Just show up at Lake Laverne. Senator Wolf.
If anybody doesn't have anything to give to do with their day on Sunday, special allocations, 9 a.m.
Also that. Speaker.
Ad hoc committees. Let me know if you want to be a part of it. Otherwise, motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.